a crew agency in Parma, which I've been running for 10 years by myself now. Prior to that, I was running...
Sounded a bit bitter.
It
on
did.
my own.
On my own, alone, in a dark room, in a basement, no. I've been a crew agent for 15 years, and on the side I moonlight as a freelance journalist for yachting publications. That's where I am currently in my life. I'm in the yachting industry.
So yachting industry is an interesting place, and the reason it's really good that you're here so we can actually have a proper chat about the industry. The podcast is called It's Just Conjecture. It's just opinions. It doesn't matter whether your opinion is loved or hated by people. It's your opinion, therefore it's valid. Same for me. And it's a conversation between us. We've both been in the yachting industry for quite a while. I think for me it's about 15 years now.
Yeah.
For you it's probably the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've probably got a lot of tainted views on on what we believe, and also because it's changing continuously, because it's such a young industry, it's changing constantly. But I think this podcast for me is one of the most interesting because it gives a really good viewpoint of how you see it, because there's so many issues that we can talk about regarding crew and crew agencies and employment and yachts and stuff like that. So for me, I've been waiting to do this for ages. I do want to tell everybody though, we did try this once before, didn't we?
This isn't our first rodeo.
Yeah, we tried this on an app so you could do it from Palma, and it just didn't work properly, did it? It was a nightmare. But I'm glad it didn't, because I'm glad I've got to meet you in person.
In real life.
And you come all the way to Antibes specifically to do this because you know how important it is.
Exactly.
Your trip to Toulon was just because of this, wasn't it?
Well, I had the private jet, flew myself here. This needed to be done. There's things that must be said.
So what I want to talk about first of all is to do with crew recruitment this season. Let's look, because a lot of crew obviously have been in the industry a long time. There's a lot of green crew as well, and I want to talk about both types of people because there's a big difference. I want this to be helpful for experienced crew and also for green crew, because the green crew are the future. Yeah. 100%. Michael Jackson said it about kids many years ago. Children are the future. And he's right in that sense. The guys who are wandering around, guys and girls wandering around Antibes and Palma right now looking for their first job are the future head chefs, chief stewardesses, captains, engineers, bosuns, you name it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so it's important that they understand that people do give a shit about them. And I think sometimes when they're walking the docks, going to crew agents, getting no response, feeling ignored, and then just sitting in the drinkers club in Antibes getting leathered every night going, this isn't going to work. I think they need some encouragement as well. So let's talk about green crew. Let's go from there. First of all, tips, advice, ideas, things like that.
Well, one of the things you just said that's really interesting, how you said about, they're sitting in the drinkers club at night. They're not. That's something... I think, sort of our generation or previous years, the green crew would go to the crew bars and socialise, but we call it networking. Yeah. Networking. And it might be, most of them are broke when they're turning up here anyway, so it's half a lager and a packet of nuts and that's it.
So dad's texting them saying, what are you up to tonight? And they go, networking.
Networking, really.
And they're like, that's what you text people.
Yeah.
I'm networking.
Networking.
Cool.
Making contacts, networking. And I was at the Palma Yacht Show last week. One thing I noticed, I went down on the Friday afternoon specifically so that I could have meetings. Again, networking meetings. It means I was in the bar. Because it is also, that was the meeting point. It's like, right, well, I'll just see you in the bar, and I met up with, lots of different people. And also cross paths with lots of old faces I hadn't seen for a while that, were the juniors back in the day, and now they're the seniors, and the captains and the chief stews and whatnot. And one thing I said afterwards, it didn't click until I'd left at about 8:30. I don't think I saw any green crew.
In the pub?
In the bar, in the yacht show.
They don't drink anymore, do they?
No, this is the thing. And it was €11 a ticket, so we're not talking like Monaco boat show prices. It's reasonable, and you could go in there, order a bottle of water. It was the ultimate opportunity to catch loads of senior people in the yachting industry. I mean, there was crew agents there, there's managers there, there's brokers there, there's captains, chief stews, junior experienced crew there, and that could have been a wonderful opportunity to network and to get contacts, get some day work, just make a good impression on someone, and that person say, well, give us your number because my mate's looking for a deckhand at the moment. And that's how it used to be. And now I think the green crew, I don't know if they're frightened to do it or they don't know about it, but they've lost this kind of socializing element, which is, most green crew get the first job by either dock walking or it's
networking.
From being in the bar. Yeah, it's from networking, or going to events.
So why are they not going to the pub anymore to network?
It's just the workforce. I think that generationally speaking, and especially since COVID, people have changed. And whereas perhaps my generation, maybe we were a bunch of drunkards, maybe we still are, but it's just it's kind of a different thing now. They want to be able to find jobs from their phones. And a lot of the younger crew aren't even in on Tebe. They aren't even in Palma. They're sat at home. I get countless emails in the past week. I'm in South Africa. I can't find my first yacht job. Can you help me? I'm like, I really can't. And I had one, I've been looking for a job for over a year. Can you help me find a stewardess position? I'm currently backpacking in Southeast Asia, but I'm available to fly back anytime. It's like, well, that's great. Well, so you're going to fly back for an interview? Because when you're green, we know that you've got basic skills. Hopefully you've done a couple of courses, be it, your decky courses or your stewie courses, or you might have a great hospitality background, or you might be you've done some cooking in bars or restaurants in the UK or wherever. But, most of the time it's personality, because they know they're looking for a green crew member they can mould and train and basically, teach the ways of the Jedi on the particular yacht. But 9 times out of 10 when they're green, it's all about the personality.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, oh, you're not going to fit in with us lot, or, oh, wow, yeah, this guy's definitely going to fit in with us.
It's an attitude thing, isn't it? If you're green, and it's not just for yachting, it's any industry you go into.
Yeah.
If there's anybody listening out, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be a yachting person. Any job you want to get or any industry you want to join, if you haven't got experience, you need to show enthusiasm, because that's the one thing you have at 20, 25, which quite frankly, at my age, sometimes I wake up and the enthusiasm is like lacking a little bit. I look in the mirror and go, really? It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
People who are slightly older have gone through all the shit. They've dealt with all the excitement of a new job and all that kind of stuff. Yachting's fun. You've got to remember, it is a fun industry. You get to travel. It's good money.
Yep.
You don't pay any rent. I mean, all of these things are great advantages. Someone buys your toothpaste for you. So in reality, it's actually not reality. Once you get on board, it's not really the real world, which is why so many crew have a hard time leaving the industry. Yeah. Because once you come off a boat, you're paying taxes, accommodation, your food, even your toothpaste, your razor blades, everything. All of a sudden, the reality kicks in. But when you're 18, 20, 22, 24, and you're joining the industry, it's probably the most exciting thing you can do, apart from backpacking around Asia, maybe. Yeah. It's fantastic. You get to meet so many people. I used to work in the French Alps. That was the fun. I get out there and someone will go, so these are your mates? Yeah. And you go, right, brilliant. Yeah. And you get to know them and you have fun with them and you work, drink, sleep, eat with this whole group of people. But that's part of the fun of being 20. Yeah. And it's exciting. So the enthusiasm you show as a greenie, green, whatever you want to call it, is the most important thing. Absolutely. Be happy, show enthusiasm, look like you want to learn. Yeah. Because people, if you're a chief stew and you employ a green stewardess to help you out for the season or whatever, you want them to show enthusiasm. You want them to go the extra mile. And that interview is about enthusiasm. I've interviewed people, they sit there looking at you like nervous, not wanting to speak. This is your opportunity. Yeah. Someone's invited you in. Yeah. Prove who you are. Just be you. Because we work with people, we don't work with CVs. That piece of paper just gets you in the door. Now let's find out who you really are.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. I think with the whole personality thing, I mean, it's fine. You can be shy. If that's who you are, that's absolutely fine, because not every crew member needs to be this big, gregarious, outgoing, big personality person. It's lovely in a bigger crew to have a good mix of different people. And, if I'm a chief stew, say, and I've got 4 girls in my team. I'm on a big motor yacht. And I've got my second stew who's really outgoing. And then my third stew is super quiet, but great attention to detail. Yeah. And then, my juniors, I want the ones who just, like the toddlers who are always like, why, why's that? Why? Oh, okay. And, the little sponges, and you just want to, you're going to throw the information at them and they're going to absorb it all and learn. And then, as a good leader, as a good chief stew or a good chief mate, I'd like to think that they want to turn around and think, doing it by themselves. So I've never been prouder of my children, you know. And then you know, when it comes to the end of the season, it's like, and now you must leave the nest. Fly, my pretty fly.
Get your next position
exactly.
on your own now.
And step up, you know, and take what I've taught you and take it out into the big wild world of yachting, and, you know, move it forward. And
but that's what's so cool about an experienced crew. They get the ability to share their knowledge with the new person, and then watch their professionalism continue to flourish over the next few years. And they stay in touch with them, and they text them saying, "Oh, you wouldn't believe the job I've got," and it's all because of that chief stewardess or that head chef or that first mate who's pushed them and taught them, and they, like you said, a sponge. This is something I think a lot of people forget these days. When you get a job, we were talking about it in the car earlier, but it's, for me, such an important thing. Wherever I worked, I put 100% in, and I didn't do it for the owner of the business. In this case, it would be the boat owner or the captain. You do it for you, so you can be better, because the more I learn and the better I get, the better I'll be in the future, and the better future I'll have, says a man who ended up provisioning. But the point is, provisioning isn't easy. I'm not going to go on about this. It's not easy. We deal with a lot of boats constantly, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's constant. But to be able to get it right, all those shitty jobs I did, from working as a kitchen porter, my first job in a kitchen, all the way through to running a ski resort and dealing with 130 staff or whatever it might have been, chalets and hotels and all this crap I dealt with, and difficult clients and fun clients and drunk clients and sober clients, ski guide, whatever it may have been. I learned something from every job because I put 100% in. Therefore, I gained all this information and knowledge, which these days I find a lot of people think they can find it on Google. You have to put the time in and the effort in to learn stuff. And as you do that, you become more and more professional. You learn, and knowledge is the key. My dad said to me years ago, he didn't get paid for the hours he worked. He got paid what he was paid basically for knowing how to solve a problem quickly because of his 40 years of experience in the job. And that's the same in yachting or anything else. The more experience you have, the quicker you'll solve problems, and eventually the more you'll be paid for it. But you'll be better in the future. Maybe these people start their own business. Maybe they end up working for a major company and just being a top leader. Who knows? But if you don't put the effort in when you've got an opportunity to, you'll never learn anything. If you expect everyone to do everything for you. And I think any green crew, for me, that's such an important factor. Learn as much as you can. Like you said, soak it all in and learn. Because this is your opportunity to really, really get free info from people. That's my feelings towards it.
And I think, junior crew, all crew should remember that reference that you take from each yacht is super important to your future career. From my point of view as a crew agent, I speak to some people and they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't bother getting a reference. It was, well, why not? I need to know why not. And there might be a very good, reason, like, well, the captain was drunk and crashed the boat. Like, okay, we'll skip that then, but be prepared to be honest, but make sure you think about your next move career-wise. If you've just taken a seasonal position, you do want to get a good reference at the end of it, so you have to put the work in, or you won't get the next job. It's not, right now we're in a position where we've got an experienced crew shortage, or a shortage of experienced crew.
I'm confused. I'm really surprised you said that. You said it to me earlier. I'm really surprised because, and we're not on this little podcast I don't avoid anything. Russian boats have not got that crew anymore. They were all mainly experienced crew, especially, obviously the head chefs, the captains and so on and so forth. Those boats aren't in the water. Well, they are in the water, but they're not really, not a lot of them aren't working like they used to be. No. Even the ones that are sitting in places like Turkey and Dubai don't leave. They just sit there. So they don't need a full complement. No. So where's all those experienced crew gone?
I don't know.
What's happened?
People said to me like last year, like, oh well, all the crew from the Russian yachts are going to flood the industry, and I was like, well, where are they? I think I've had 4 contact me.
Really, is that it?
Yeah, but to be honest, I'm a bit niche. I don't work. If I worked for a management company that was looking after mega yachts, 80 meter, 100 meter, like the big boys in Monaco. Those companies, maybe they've seen an influx of more of like the crew, the junior crew, but no, I haven't really seen any, to be honest.
So where are they? Well, literally nobody knows.
No idea what's happened to that lot, but I mean, what I saw during the pandemic, you know, when COVID struck in 2020, a lot of yachts laid off their crew and they didn't look after them. They weren't like, you know, well, okay, go home, guys, and we'll keep you on a lower salary. It was like, no, just go. And then everybody was a bit like in limbo. Well, what do we do? How long is this going to go on for? And nobody had the answers. So a lot of crew were like, okay, well, I can't wait forever. It's been 2 months now. What am I going to do? I'm going to get a land job, or I might retrain. I've got some cash in the bank. I might do a little bit of retraining. I'll take this job locally, and, you know, I might, you know, manage this restaurant or go and work wherever in an office. And a lot of them, and then, you know, COVID rambled on and on and on and on. And a lot of people ended up, you know, realising that, God, you know, well, maybe the money's not as good as yachts, and I've got to pay tax and be a grown up and things like that. And I don't, you know, someone else's, I'm not...
Toothpaste is expensive, isn't it?
I have to do my own washing. What? You know, and unless they're still back at living with their mums, which I think a lot of them did. But, you know, they suddenly realised this isn't that bad a life, is it? And oh my God, I got to see my my new nephew, or, you know, my own child being born. You know, I got to spend summer with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was there when my dad got sick.
Yeah.
Or all these massive life events that when you're on yachts, it's like you just accept that you're not going to go home, you know, for grandma who's fallen down the stairs, bless her, you know, but you probably get a day off for a funeral if you're lucky and it's not August and the boss isn't on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
that's
I think
so true. But that's the same for being a business owner, especially when you're this is a young industry. So as a business owner in a young industry, you have to work a lot of hours to keep your business going and pay the bills.
Sure.
And you do
sacrifice a lot.
Yeah. People don't really know
Yeah.
what we sacrifice as a business owners on land in this industry. So to get a bit of sympathy, we miss weddings. We miss even funerals.
Yeah.
We miss friends, and we stop communicating with people because we're so busy. And when we do have 5 minutes, we just want to sit on the floor, look into space and go,
eat cheese.
Yeah,
I'll be in the cheese room.
Eat cheese, exactly, whatever it may be. That 10 minutes you have spare is not the 10 minutes you want to phone Brian and have a chat and say, hey, buddy, how you doing? Not spoken to you in 6 months. No, I've not got time for that. I'm too fucked. And you lose everything.
Yeah.
Relationships, even in some cases, people's health deteriorates quite a lot because they don't look after themselves. So I think yacht crew have the same thing, don't they? Very similar. They might not be a business owner, but they're dealing with the same issues. It's why I feel so connected to yacht crew when they call me on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock because they need to change their order because shit's hit the fan. I know where they're coming from. They've got no life either. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They don't. It's when they're on that boat during that period, whether it's rotation or not, they don't have an existence on this planet. No, you literally live at work. Yeah. You live in your workplace and there is no escape from it. And, you know, I was saying at this crew forum the other morning that, you know, to a point, these people are your family. Yeah. And whether you like it or not, but, you know, it's like in real life, you might not get on well with your sister or your mum or your dad or whatever. And it's like that on a yacht crew. You can't escape from them. They're always there around the crew mess table when you go to eat your meals, or you might be sharing a cabin with one of them. But, you know, they are your family, and that's, you know, that I think people need to look out for their family and the yacht family a bit more, because at this, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but at this crew forum, this captain, lovely guy, lots of experience now, manages a bunch of boats, and when I said, you know, about looking out for your family, yacht family members, and if somebody's having a bit of a bad day, you know, you pull them aside and it's like, you okay? You know, what's going on with you today? Because if there's a faulty cog in that machine, then everything's eventually going to crumble down just like a bigger house of cards, isn't it? Yeah. And if somebody's not performing because they're unhappy, then we need to find out why. And it might be someone in a different department. You know, if we're talking big boat structures, you know, it might be the deckhand's a bit sad, and it might be the second stew. It's like, what's up, Davo? Well, you know, you're not yourself today. Australian, is he?
It's got to be, yeah. With
an O on the end.
Davo, mate, you all right, mate? But you know, this captain then said, he took my comment and said, you know, we are a high performance team, and when I work in a high performance team, if someone's not performing, I replace them. And I was like, oh my God, that's the coldest thing I've ever heard.
I know. Yeah, no, it is
and
cold.
There's a bunch of crew right sat on the front table, and their faces just changed, and I was like, oh.
But in reality, I know exactly what he's talking about. The thing is, I can't criticise that comment. I know how he's feeling. If you have a car and one of the cogs isn't working, the whole car's fucked. So he's absolutely right. Maybe he said it in maybe a cold way. Okay, it's generally what he said is completely right. The problem is it's the presentation of it that can sometimes seem cold.
Yeah.
I have a business and I employ multiple people. If one of those people doesn't perform or show up, we're fucked.
Yep.
What do I do in the middle of July if one of my drivers just doesn't turn up in the morning? They got pissed last night. I can't be bothered in coming to work. And they text at 10 o'clock and go, I'm sick. And you're like, well, you should have been here at 7 to do a delivery. Who the hell does that delivery? I've got a yacht crew with owners coming on at midday. They've got a delivery at 8 o'clock into Monaco and the fucking food's not there. The chef gets sacked. It's not that person's responsibility, you know, but if a cog doesn't work because the person's unreliable, you have to get rid of them. It's the truth of the job. And you may say, oh, but we have to make sure they're okay. Well, mollycoddling people don't work, because I did it in the Alps. It didn't work for me. A girl working in a chalet, on a single chalet, 10 guests. She's working hard, yes. Not being paid much in the Alps in those days. It was one of those jobs where you did it for the atmosphere and the free ski pass. Fine. But you took the job on. If you sign the contract and you take the job on, do the job. You can sit around complaining if you like, because nobody's coming down and patting you on the back for getting up in the morning. But getting up in the morning and turning up to work is a prerequisite of the job.
Yeah.
Nobody should come in and go, oh, you're amazing. Am I? Yeah, you got to work nearly on time today. Fucking well done. It's bullshit. People need to wake up. I understand what the captain's saying because I agree with him. If one cog doesn't work, the pressure that adds to the rest of the team is immense, and that isn't fair. So in reality, why should you work longer hours and have more stress? Because Ginny didn't turn up today because her gran fell over and she's having a hard time dealing with it because she can't get back to the UK to see her. That shouldn't affect you having to work harder. And if you end up doing that because of a weak team member throughout the whole season, your animosity builds up. You start treating her with a little bit of disrespect. It may be tone of voice. It could be comments about her in the pub with your other colleagues. Then they go, oh, I didn't realise you were having such a hard time because she didn't do a job. Before you know it, you've actually got two different sides of this battle on an 80-metre boat.
Yeah.
And you've got people going, yeah, I'm not working harder because of her. And then you've got the people go, yeah, but she's having a hard time. So where is the line?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's someone who's not reliable, that's one thing. But if somebody's just having an off day, I don't think you should put them in the bin.
No, of course.
But, you know, if somebody is constantly slacking and other people have to pick up that slack, then, yeah, okay, that is a problem, of course.
Yeah.
And that person, you know, I'd say you give them the benefit of the doubt once, twice, that's it. But, you know, if it's something as serious as, like you're saying, your guy's not turned up because he got drunk last night, well, that's not on. That's on a boat, that's a disciplinary.
Yeah.
You know, you don't do that. When you've got to work, and especially you think on boats, it's a dangerous environment. It's a live environment. And, you know, when somebody comes to work super hungover and you're out sailing and there's loads on those lines that, you know, will rip your fingers off, will rip your foot off. You know, somebody's mistake could cost someone else really severely. And when it comes down to health and safety, it's like, no, you can't do that. But, and also, you know, if it is, you know, it's not such a dangerous role. But you see, even if a chef's off his game or her game because they got wasted last night, and that's when, you know, fingers get chopped and things like that. It's like you're handling knives or, you know, ovens and things, and the stews as well, and the deck. It's all relative. It is a live working environment, and you know, I think it can be a bit of an issue. But, you know, I think sympathy goes a long way. I mean, you know, because I've had a bad day in the office when I had, you know, a proper job before I went into yachting, and said, you know, and my boss is just like, "Are you all right today?" And I turned around and I was like, "Actually, no, I'm not, because you've given me too much work, and I've had enough. I'm really pissed off at this now." And he was like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I was just pushing you to see how far I could push you before you actually told me that was too much." Nice. And I'm like, am I like? And I felt like a hamster in a wheel. I'm like, am I your, you know, little experiment? He said, "Well, we've got to keep pushing you to see how far you'll go."
Yeah, that's probably unfair.
And I'm like, well, that's not really fair, isn't it? He's like, "Can I buy you a drink?" It's like, "You can buy me a bottle, thank you."
I'll have a pint of gin, please.
Yeah.
So talking about that sort of environment on a yacht. We've got a captain here who's saying to you, if a cog doesn't work, we have to get rid of it because the whole machine falls to pieces. And then you've got crew who have personal issues. So we're dealing with possible mental health issues.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, this is a huge subject. And obviously, I'm not going to judge anybody for mental health issues. But Again, just my conjecture here. Very little information, fact here. I'm just going to give you an opinion to see what your thoughts are. As far as mental health is concerned, if you tell everybody on the internet, on TikTok and Instagram, that mental health is a problem and everybody's having problems and everybody should, then people will start believing it, won't they? They'll start thinking to themselves, oh, maybe I've got a mental health issue and that can get me a day off or a bit of sympathy. When in reality, there's a big difference between actual mental health and what people pretend is mental health.
Yeah.
Pretending mental health is, my mum's fallen down the stairs and she's having a hard time at home and she broke her ankle. That's not a mental health issue for you. It shouldn't be. If you're that inclined, then you should be at home. You shouldn't be traveling the world if you can't handle that. I dealt with it again in resorts I went to where after a couple of weeks away, they've taken a job on and 2 weeks later they're going, I'm going to have to go home. I'm really missing home. Well, okay, I said it with a patronising voice then. Christ, I shouldn't do that. Very fucking judgmental with the tone of voice there, wasn't I?
I miss my mum.
I miss my mum and my friends. Then fuck off. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean it. Of course, people get homesick, but this is the problem these days. People get mollycoddled, and they're allowed to continue that theme when in reality, we seem to have as a species, one of the only species that mollycoddles our children until they're 50, or until we die.
Yeah.
You know. That's part of the problem. People get mollycoddled, they will use it. Mental health and actual mental health, two separate things. Just because on TikTok it says you've had a bad day, you've got mental health issues, is not true. And I think this is something, I mean, what's your thoughts on the mental health issue? Because it is a serious issue on board.
Yeah.
But it's becoming more of an issue than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I fully endorse that when you have your ENG1, your medical to determine if you are fit to work at sea, this shouldn't just be like, how much do you weigh? Can you see that over there? You red and green? Wicked. Off you pop.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
Well, no, it depends on the doctor.
Christ, that's one I can pass.
Yeah.
I'll do that one.
Brilliant. Are you fit for lookout duties? And this sort of, there's a bunch of questions that determine if you are fit to work at sea under the MCA guidelines. But, should we not, I know people who've got ENG1s and then it's turned out they're on like a fierce course of antidepressants. And it's like, but again, this then comes down to the captain when that person joins the boat, or perhaps slightly sooner, you should disclose if you're on any medication.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
But you wouldn't,
lie.
would you?
Yeah. This is the thing. So the ENG1, I think, should actually disclose if you are on anything that could alter your mood or that's affecting your mental health.
How do they test for that?
Well, I think, they'd have to look at your medical records, or they'd
if
expect some honesty.
If you come to Antibes, for example, and your doctor's back in Cambridge, and that's, you come here and you go, right, I need to go to a local doctor. He's not on your medical records, is it?
No.
You walk into any doctor's surgery in France, pay, tell him you're feeling depressed. He gives you whatever you need because you're having a cry, and then you go off to your interview. They say you need an ENG1. You go and get that. He goes, I've got your medical records, Cambridge. Great, lovely. You seem like a stable person, Johnny. You really are on the ball, aren't you? But he's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
And this is the problem: is you can't
force people to tell the truth. But,
would you employ somebody as a chief stewardess? Would you employ a stewardess if she sat there in an interview and went, so here's my certificates, I've done a flower course, I can do this, I've got a cocktail making course, I'm fantastic, you look amazing. She goes, by the way, I take antidepressants.
Yeah.
Would you go, oh, brilliant, get yourself in, lovely? You probably would think, I'm not sure I can deal with that. I've got busy summer ahead.
What if something happens? How do we get her the help she might need?
Yeah. So you're thinking to yourself, I'm not going to take that risk. So that's why people don't tell. Yeah. That's why people don't say, I'm having a hard time. Yeah. And actually, this shit happened to me. I'm escaping to yachting. Because let's be fair, I don't know why you moved to Mallorca, and I'm not going to judge, but I've been away from the UK or from the Isle of Man many, 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 many years. Yeah. In truth, this is why I put the sad music on now. I did some sad overlay music. Mm-hmm. The point is, I know why I left. I didn't enjoy living in the Isle of Man. I didn't enjoy my life there when I was younger. I was quite thin and scrawny and smaller than the other kids of my age. And in reality, that didn't bode well for a solid relationship with people. Okay. Yeah. I was quite good at sport, but I didn't have the physique for it. So I learnt technique and that pissed them off. So actually I wasn't really liked that much. I'm not trying to get sympathy. I'm just saying that when I escaped, the Isle of Man, Alcatraz.
Yeah.
It's a lovely place. I'm taking the piss.
Yeah,
but when I got away from the Isle of Man, when I got away and I moved off and I went to Europe and I did all these fantastic jobs in lovely places, I could be me.
Yeah.
I could just be me again, and people would either like me or dislike me, judge me or not judge me, but I didn't have to deal with that shit from school anymore. And I think a lot of people that become what they call expats, which I just call immigrants.
Yeah.
Move
Controversial.
to Spain or move to France or Germany or wherever.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it because things weren't the way they wanted them back home.
And they want to recreate themselves to a point.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that is a lovely warm blanket to have on you on a nice cold 19-year-old's life.
Yeah.
Is, do I need to deal with that shit where the nicknames have gone? The bullying and the bullshit doesn't affect me anymore.
Yeah.
And the stories they tell about you when you first kissed a girl and you didn't know what you were doing, and she tells everyone you're an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
And that's an unpleasant way to live your life. So you escape it. And I think a lot of people who may have failed with their choice of business or career in the UK, for example, move to France or Spain, open up a business that they may not know a lot about, and they give it a crack. And I've been to Spain. I've been to a lot of these resorts in Spain, and you see all of these British cafes. They wouldn't have done that in the UK.
No.
You know?
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't have succeeded in the UK because, quite frankly, a lot of it's dog shit food.
Yeah, and a lot
not
of them
even
don't,
cooked right.
and they don't succeed in Spain either because they don't know how to run a bar.
Run a business is different from cooking a sandwich.
Yeah, I'm going to Spain. I'm going to set up a sandwich shop. We're going to call it Ted's Corner Cafe.
There we go. And we're going to play Only Fools and Horses on the TV all day because that'll bring them in. We're going to have Tetley and the Sun News. And I agree. I get it. There's a market. There's a market for all of that. And I'm not judging people for doing it. I'm just saying there's a reason why so many people become expats. It's like, oh God, I'm going on. It's like when you go in the gym. Most of those people are repairing their shit one rep at a time, one step on the treadmill at a time. They may be overweight, they may be fit, they might not, they might be skinny, they might be anorexic, they might be bulimic, they could have issues at home, anything. Every single person I see in that gym, when I walk in, I look at with respect and go, you're trying to sort your shit out. And I fucking respect that.
Good for you.
I don't care who they are. I look at them and go, fucking fantastic. I'm in the right gang here. We're all trying to solve our shit together. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Some people become addicted to it, but it's the same with tattoos. Some people have got lots of tattoos, everywhere.
Yeah.
And again, that's their choice. I'm not criticizing in any way. But sometimes people join a clan. It's a clan, it's a group you're joining. Whether it's a tattoo, whether it's the gym, whether it's an industry, whether it's a hard job so you can perform and prove yourself. That's why I started a business. I had to prove to myself I was capable. Some days look in the mirror and go, you're not capable, mate.
You've blagged it this far, keep going.
Make it till you fake it till you make it. Pretend, keep going, mate. You'll be fine, nobody will know. And some days you have a bit of a breakdown. We all have this thing going on in our life which we've had to deal with.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And again, I'm not going to get into details of everybody's lives. It's just that's why we become the people we become. That's why we end up in the places we go to. That's why we start the jobs that we start. It's all to do with our youth mainly. If you go and sit with my shrink for she'll kill me when I say she hears that, my psychiatrist, if she told, she'll tell you the same thing. Everyone's got their shit. And for some people, it's more important than others.
Yep.
And you can only repair when you accept the fact that you are who you are because of the shit. And actually, today's a new day, and you go forward from here, and you can't change the past.
Yep.
You can't change what's happened. Literally, from this second, when I called her a shrink and she loses her shit with me because she doesn't, that's an awful phrase in her mind.
Terrible.
I can't turn that back, and I can edit it out.
Yeah.
I can bleep it, but I can't change that I said it.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with life. And I don't know why we're talking mental health. That's why I'm talking about it. It's such an important factor. Everybody's shit is important to them.
Yeah.
And they've all got their stuff that happened to them.
Yep.
Whether you see it as something that's relevant or not is irrelevant. It's their opinion. It's what's happened to them. It's how they're dealing with it. But the captain's right. Can't have a cog not working.
No, I think long term, definitely not. And the thing is, I was speaking to people last season. There's all sorts of kerfuffles that go on during the season, and sometimes we all get stressed out and we've all had enough and we want to quit the job, but sometimes it is more serious. It might just be the case of I'm having a rotten season because the boss is an awful person and talks to me like I'm worthless. And that's a lot for anyone to take. You know, it's basically bullying, isn't it, when you look at it? But sometimes you can have boats like that where the bosses, the guests are not very nice people, but the crew are so tight knit, and you know that you just get on with it. And you know, whilst the boss is berating someone for this, that, and the other, this, you know, one of the crew members has stood behind them, giving them a little wink, and you're just like, okay, yeah. And it's just like, you know, you think wings of steel come up and it shoots over your head. You know, just let them get on with it.
I was told by a chief stewardess last week that in her 10 years, she has received better tips from difficult people than she has from nice clients.
Yeah.
She said it's almost like nice clients are nice to you because they know they're not giving you a tip.
Yeah.
Where the people that treat you like shit
yeah.
are like, well, we're going to treat them like shit because they're going to get paid well at the end of it. I'm
yeah,
going to give them a good tip.
Yeah.
And if they don't give me any shit back and they do what I tell them, I'm going to give them a great tip.
Yeah.
And she said, in reality, that's how it's worked. So those clients that are difficult, give them the best service because they're the best tip payers.
Well, it's, you know, it's like the old adage, you know, kill them with kindness.
Yeah. And
also, you know, if somebody is being a dick to you, I always say to people, don't, you know, lower your standards to meet theirs.
Right, Michelle Obama.
Well, easy, tiger. But yeah, you know, that whole, if somebody's being rude to me or unprofessional, I'm not going to be rude and unprofessional back. It's just like, well, you know, off you fuck, basically. You know, jog on.
Yeah.
I did. I think
on's a great line.
One of my favourite. I did a TikTok last week because obviously I'm down with the kids now.
You're a massive TikTok person, aren't you?
Huge content creator.
How many? As a matter of interest, how many followers?
I've no idea. I don't know. Because the thing is with TikTok, it's not about followers, Damian.
It's about views.
It's about views.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what would be an average view of a video?
Oh, a few hundred. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm you know, I'm not on the dizzying heights of the influencers because it's very niche content.
Very
it's about
niche.
Yachts.
Yachting's very niche.
But there's
isn't it?
I did one of the ones that there's a sound bite and it says, you know, like, and it's somebody laughing. And what they say, they go, oh no, I'm devastated, and then laugh a bit more. And my caption on the top was like, when a yacht with a really bad reputation says they're not going to use me for crew, and I'm like, oh no, I'm devastated, you know, and things like that. And it's like, you don't want to work with these people anyway.
But you have to sometimes.
I don't.
I mean, do you not?
No. That's why I've got my own business, so I can say, you know, obviously very politely, it'd be like, it might be a case of me saying, I'm really sorry, I don't have anyone who suits your requirements right now, but best of luck. You know, if
because you know they're a difficult boat.
If a yacht comes to me and they've gone through four mates in, you know, 6 months, and I've probably spoken to maybe one or two or three or maybe all four of them, I've had a warning. Like, you know, or saying like, what's going on with this? What's going on with this boat? Or, you know, and it's like, it's the captain. Like, oh God. If it's the owners, it's one thing.
Well, there's nothing you can do about that.
But, you know, but if it's the captain as well, it's like, well, why? You know, well, the captain won't talk to me. He doesn't communicate. He goes off the boat for long periods and we can't get hold of him. And, you know, and I've been left in charge and I don't know what I'm doing. And
So do you think that in reality, because I have this discussion quite a lot with all sorts of people in the industry, I'd like to hear your opinion. And I know it's going to be difficult for you to answer this.
Okay.
Which is the most important role on the yacht? Considering everything.
I hate you. I hate
you cannot answer that question.
Passion.
You know you can't because of your job.
No, but I tell you.
But it's nice to see you try.
Yeah, I mean, what? Do you know what I'd say? And everyone's, you know, obviously, I'm going to hang on.
No,
Here comes the diplomat. Diplomat Lay in the house.
The UN have been on the phone. Is Erica available?
Yeah.
Get her in.
Yeah.
We've got a problem in the Middle East.
Yeah. It's all right, guys. I'm here now. You can all relax and sleep soundly. You know, everyone's important. Everyone has their role to fulfill. And if, as you said, you know, if one person isn't doing it, the rest of them have to pick up the slack. And it's like, if you're on charter, if, let's say, there's a big, like, weakness in the interior crew and the stews aren't getting the chef's food out when it's hot, for example, that could cost a big part of the tip, you know.
So the food's the most important there for the chef.
Well, would you let me finish?
I'm just
please?
saying. That's what it sounded like.
But, you know, also, and you've got to say, you know, if the captain's not pulling his weight and hasn't communicated well to his team or her team, and, you know, things haven't trickled down the ranks, so they don't, you know, it's like, where are we going? Hang on, we're leaving. Oh, God, what's that? Yeah, then, again, and even and when the guests turned around to the deckhand, it's like, hey, Billy, where are we going? You know, again, well, if there's a weak link, then the whole team is screwed. But what I would say is that happy tummy happy people.
Right.
So if you've got a chef who keeps the crew well fed and looked after, often you could have the most terrible day, and then, you know, and somebody knows, like, oh my God, these charter guests are absolutely kicking the crap out of the stews today, or, you know, they've absolutely ruined the deckhand, you know, and you know, you come down to the crew mess, like, we made you a cake. Oh, thank you so much. Or, you know, it might be a case that they're from England or they're from Australia, and it's like, I made you some Vegemite on toast, you know, and it's like, oh, and then you just pull your socks up and off you go. But I think, for me, because I'm a foodie, I'm greedy, I love food, so if I have a bad meal, it does ruin my entire day. But, you know, if you have a good meal, it can make everything right in the world, you know. I
mean, I'm a provisionist, so of course, to a certain degree, my bread is buttered with chefs, okay?
Salted or unsalted?
Either or. I like a salted butter on a piece of toast, actually. Yeah. I've got to be honest, you know, I do agree. I always come back to one point, though, and I think you'd agree with this, is it's like any team, it's the management, and that is down to the captain.
Yeah.
And in reality, sometimes the captain, in those scenarios when things are, you go, do nice things for the crew. All he needs to say to the chef is, look, when the shit's hitting the fan, do nice things for the crew, because they're the ones that need it.
Have you got time to bake a cake today? Because that's things like that. Make
Jenny's
some
had
cookies.
a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, the captain obviously is responsible for taking the boat from A to B. Prerequisite of the job.
Yeah.
It's like a chauffeur drives a car, but is it smooth?
Yeah.
Is he going the right route? And that's really what a captain's doing on board. He's managing a team, and every single element of that team needs to function. And so it has to come from the captain. We all know that if the clients don't get good food, they could sack the chef mid-charter. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
It's the most unpleasant thing for a chef when mid-charter he phones me and says, I've just been fucking sacked. And it's all because of a steak wasn't cooked how the principal liked it.
Or the principal just changed their mind and didn't tell anyone. And decided to ruin a chef's day.
Such an unfair thing to happen.
Yeah.
When I know it happened on one particular boat, and the owner actually came to see the chef and went, I'm really sorry, man. You've got to go. These guys have rented it for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, it was a few years ago, and it was a nice vessel, very good, very nice owner, and he felt terrible about it. He said, but they are chartering for 8 weeks. I don't have a fucking choice.
Yeah.
And I felt terrible for the guy. He was absolutely devastated because he'd been with the owner 3 years. But it happens. So yeah, the chef is absolutely, it's like you said, if it's good food and the people are happy with the food, the charter will go well. The tip's going to be better.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the stewardesses don't have to do their job and everybody hasn't functioned. Of course they do. But it has to come from the captain. Management of any company or vessel or anything, the manager is the captain, and he has to be the number one go-to person. He has to get it right. And I notice on some of the vessels where shit does hit the fan, the captain may have dropped the ball a little bit for whatever reason. Sometimes the food can make or break a charter, but that management from the captain is essential. Otherwise, nothing will happen.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's a tricky question to answer, and I put you in a really difficult position.
I don't think there is an answer. You know, there isn't. It's not like, oh well, it's clearly the captain is the.
Yeah.
Everyone is responsible on board, and but I think as you say, it's the captain's responsibility to manage the people, to manage the team, and to lead, and just to be that person who, and people say, oh, I thought I was going on too much. Like for me, there's no such thing as too much communication.
Yeah.
I would rather know too much information than too little, because then we can all prepare for it when it hits the fan, and and everybody knows what's going on. Bridge meetings, mini meetings, or even if it's a case of just getting the heads of departments up. We need a quick catch-up, guys, on the radio, and getting them up to the bridge, and then they tell their teams. But you've got to make sure all that information flows down so everyone knows what's happening, so nobody looks like an idiot and nobody drops the ball inadvertently,
But that's true, because what we were saying before, I don't know whether we said it here or whether we were in the car on the way up here, but when you've got a team of people, every single person in that team can make a difference. The deckhand who's driving the tender boat can be just fantastic with the client, and the client's first impression is wow. these guys have got their shit together.
Yeah.
And then the stewardesses do their job on deck, and everything's just perfect. And the captain introduces himself and makes sure that all the crew know who the guests are, and just communicates with everybody, like you said.
Yeah.
And then the chef smashes it out of the park in the kitchen. And the beds are always perfect. Every single member of that team is responsible for that tip.
Yep.
You can't. I mean, okay, sell food. The food has to be great, but don't pretend for a minute that the deckhand doing his job isn't as vital to the impression the client will have of that boat. And I always used to look at this in the Alps. I go back to my days in the Alps, which is anybody who, I think we talked about it before. Anybody who's worked in the French Alps and done a season
done the
is
chalets.
like gold dust to me. If they come to my door and say, "Hey, can I have a job?" I'm like, "Fuck yes," because their attitude's amazing. I used to have clients arrive and I get a phone call from the hotel and say, "Johnsons aren't happy. They need to see you." Okay. First thing I remember is this: that person he's maybe Mr. Johnson wants to see, or Mrs. Johnson, doesn't really matter, but they've got 2 kids with them. They got up at 3:30 in the UK to get to Gatwick on time for a 5:30 flight. Or 6:30 flight. They're flown into Chambéry, it's 3 hours delayed. They're sitting on the tarmac, fucking around, screwing about in cold. The kids are unhappy. They've not eaten properly. They finally get on a coach that's got to go and put snow chains on that took the driver 45 minutes at the bottom of a ski resort. By the time they get to the hotel, it's now 8 o'clock. Everybody is fuming. Everybody's unhappy. Everybody just wants food and bed. They couldn't care less about ski pass, nothing.
Yeah.
Dad knows he needs to sort that shit out. But in reality, everybody's having a hard time. They walk in the room and they go up to the taps and they go to wash their face and they turn the cold tap on with the C on it, which in France means hot because it's chaud. And they burn their hands and they lose their fucking... Get the fucking manager here now. I want to have a... And they goes, I'm not happy. We were sitting on the tarmac in Gatwick for 45 minutes. My kids haven't eaten all day. I get here and the kitchen's closed and nearly dropped my bottle. And I've gone in the room and the water's burnt me because the taps are marked wrong. And you just write, and I used to say, write all this stuff down. But I know by the time that person's got on the mount, had a sleep, had breakfast tomorrow, and I say to my staff, get the breakfast right.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the love of God.
This is vital. Vital.
Yeah.
You turn up on time. You make sure the coffee's hot. You smile at them when they come in. You don't ask them how they are.
No.
Whatever. Don't say, "Hey, how was your travel yesterday?"
Yeah.
Fucking don't open that can of worms. Don't do that. Just literally do your job. Be smiley, happy. Get what they bring their tea to their table. Make sure the buffet's amazing. Make sure everything's hot. Chefs, get your shit together. This is important tomorrow. The week starts from that breakfast because we've already lost day one. But it's the same on a yacht. They've had a long time. They've travelled. Okay. We're dealing with a different clientele. They've been on a private jet.
Yeah, they didn't get up to go to Gatwick.
They didn't go to Gatwick. No. They didn't sit on the runway for 45 minutes.
There was no coach. There was definitely no coach involved. No.
But in the whole scheme of things, they've gone through that whole travel thing and they've dealt with a bit of stress. The kids are crying, whatever it may be that's happened on that trip. As far as they're concerned, that was vital to their happiness. And it didn't go the way they planned. And they turn up on the vessel and that deckhand meeting them with a tender and being absolutely fantastic and professional and making sure it's immaculate and they've got what they need, immediately turns that person's mind to, we've arrived, this is where it starts.
That's it. And when they hit that passerelle and they look up and there's the stewardess with the hot towels, madam, you know, and then the next one with the drinks ready for them and their favourite wines in the fridge already.
This is what it's all about.
And they can finally disconnect.
You can't do anything about that journey to the vessel. Yeah. It's out of your control. Yeah. Maybe that's a broker's problem. Who knows? Yeah. But it definitely isn't the yacht crew. But the one thing to remember, I think, as soon as they, like you said, get in that tender or passerelle, whatever it may be, that's the moment you kick into gear.
Yeah, and you can make a difference.
You can make, And I always used to, people used to say, why would you do this industry, the tourism industry? And I know the most important time of anybody's year is when they go on holiday. Yeah. We all deal with shit in our lives, whether you're a billionaire or not. You've got shit going on. And that week or 2 weeks when you go away is your time to relax and enjoy yourself and go, I deserve this. I've worked hard for this. Yeah. Now is my moment and I want it to be right. So you may spend a bit more money than you planned to make sure it goes the way you want, a bit more luxury. But when you go on a yacht, it's the same thing. Okay, they're multimillionaires and billionaires, but they're looking to be impressed, to have a nice time, to relax. And that's just something I think sometimes is difficult to Remember, when you're doing charter after charter after charter, boss trip, charter, boss trip, Monaco Grand Prix kicks into the season, all of June you're busy, all of July you're busy, and you get to September and you think season's over, and then the boss comes on.
Yeah.
That's when you need to be into the next gear and go, I'm going to impress the shit out of this guy.
Yeah.
Because now I can still do it now.
Yeah.
It's having that motivation, that enthusiasm in late September.
Final push.
Yeah, final push. Let's get it done. Let's make sure this guy turns around and goes, shit, the crew are amazing. Make the captain look good now.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And that's such an important thing. So I think we got there from mental health. We got there from green crew, experienced crew. What's the biggest issue in the industry right now, would you say?
Well, it's circling right back then to this lack of experienced crew that we've got, because we started talking about how, in the pandemic, we lost a lot of crew, not to COVID, but because of COVID, because they went home retrained and thought, you know what, maybe I'll just stay here now. And you know, people got into relationships as well at home, or maybe rekindled relationships. With their own partners who they hadn't seen for 6 months or whatever. But and also in 2020 and 2021, we didn't have the influx of all the greenies. All the brand new crew didn't come because they couldn't. So we had 2 years of no crew. And then in 2022, the Aussies and the New Zealanders still had their big flight restrictions, I think up until sometime in the summer. So they couldn't get over here either. So last year we had a few new crews, Europeans, UK, a few South Africans, as always. But yeah, so we had fewer crew, and then the 2 years prior we had no crew. So now we're looking at crew who should have 2 to 3 years experience. They're not there.
It's a really good point. I hadn't thought that through, but that's the reason, isn't it?
There's a gap at the bottom, well, just above the bottom, like I'm looking for a deckhand with 1 year's experience minimum. Those ones. I'm looking for a stewardess with 1 to 2 years experience. You know, this sort of thing, a few seasons under the belt. So that's a big hole there. And now we've got, and then we've got the seniors who left. And I have to say, most of the captains are still in the industry, because most captains have big financial commitments, you know, and that might be family commitments, houses with mortgages. Yeah. You know, kids, family at home, kids probably in private school or in an international school because they're based in Parma or France you know, and all those sort of commitments financially. So the captains didn't have any choice because they got the old golden handcuffs of yachting on, and they need that salary to maintain their lifestyle and keep their family in their homes, you know, and have their cars and whatnot. So the captains have stayed. But so we're missing that little section of maybe 2 to 3 years of crew that didn't come into the industry that would be experienced. So what advice can you give maybe a yacht captain who's employing people even now, as we get to we're right at the start of May? What advice would you give to captains about that now? Hire the green crew, give them a chance. I've heard an awful lot over the last year or so of senior crew, saying we really need experienced crew. I really appreciate and understand fully that makes your life easier because somebody knows what they're doing, fingers crossed, if they've got a year in the industry. But at the end of the day, they don't exist. There aren't enough of them out there. So you're going to have to take a chance on a greenie. So pick one you really like, who, you know, have a look at their CVs, talk to them about their experiences. You know, pick the one you've walked past your boat 3 times this week and just said, morning, because they know you're not looking for crew at the moment, you know, or whatever it is. You know, maybe take a chance on someone, get them on for a day's work, see how they interact with the other crew in the crew mess, see how they interact with you, say, right, can you give us a hand doing this job, whatever it might be, and pick the ones who've got the attitude and the personality, because they are our future. And we see so much like bashing of the juniors especially on Facebook, which is perhaps for the older generations versus Instagram and TikTok. And, you know, back in my day, this attitude, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, but you don't think that our captains, you know, 20 years ago
felt the same way,
looked at us and said, look at this twat at the end of my passerelle in flip-flops and a backpack. Yeah. He needs a haircut. Sort of shit. She needs a wash. Why are those dreadlocks? Yeah. You know, and you've been backpacking and found this industry and didn't even need to pay for an STCW back then because it's like, I'll see if I like it. Then I'll do it at the end of the season. I might just do it for a year. Yeah. You know, and now to go into the industry, you've got to have courses out there, hoo-ha, you know, that cost thousands. All right. And who's paying for that? usually mum and dad.
Yeah.
You know, you've got your medical certificates, and then on top of that, you know, you've got to then have your flight and your accommodation.
And who knows how long the accommodation's going to be for, because
Exactly.
you don't know how long it's going to be to get a job.
And you've got crew houses in Antibes or Palma or hostels, and they ain't cheap.
What do they charge a night?
I have no idea, but I know.
I wonder what they charge.
I would like to know, but yeah, I mean back in the day, hostels, it would be a few quid a night kind of thing, and you'd scrape together some money to get down the Blue Lady, and you'd have your half a Guinness. And
networking.
and networking, and that was dinner.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, there would be crew events all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like, okay, at the whatever bar, is it the Hop Store?
Yeah.
Things like, you know, the corner bar, the skate bar in Palma.
Yeah.
You know,
we used to do a big
nights.
Barbecue down at La Ciotta at the start of May.
Yeah.
Huge barbecue, 300 people down there.
Fantastic.
Absolute carnage. Got banned because everyone got drunk. I said, what did you fucking
What did you think was going to happen?
300 crew down in La Ciotta, and we're doing a barbecue with free booze.
Yeah.
What did you? And we had this big inflatable table football thing, you know, for humans. It was hilarious. All the crew put teams in. Everybody got leathered. We had a DJ on.
Yeah.
Flashy lights. Ooh, listen to me, Grandad. Ooh, flashy lights. Fucking hell, must have been a part. It was great. I remember coming down to my kitchen and having 4 of my staff coming down with me. We all made burgers, handmade burgers for that event.
Bless.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
We put little cheddar cheese in the middle of them, Juicy Lucy burgers.
Lovely.
It was amazing. We had such fun. They banned it and said can't have crew pissed. What do you think they're doing every night in La Ciotta?
Yeah.
Going out and getting pissed and walking back.
There's not much else to do there.
There's nothing
to
do.
be fair.
No.
It is a bit like the land before time out there, isn't it? Well,
fishing and fucking. There's not a lot of fishing going on.
There we go. Exactly that. See.
Okay, so
yeah, look after the greenies.
So look after the greens. You think give them a chance? I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
And in provisioning. The big problem with provisioning is there's a lot of people in this job who've been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I don't mean owners of businesses, I mean just staff. And they have moved around from company to company. And I've come to the decision over the years, it's best to have somebody who's never worked in the industry, give them a chance, because they've got other skills these days.
Fresh ideas.
Fresh meat. Fresh attitude towards the whole thing. Yes, it takes time to train them, but training is key. Same as on a boat. If you train somebody who's green, give them a chance. Don't turn around after a week and go, fucking useless. Give them a chance. Train them.
Yep.
Let them try and become what they want to become.
Yep.
Okay, maybe a month down the line you go, never going to get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't understand the concept of where a glass goes.
Yeah.
But give them a chance and train them. Training's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the thing. We were all trained. I didn't, become a successful business-owning crew agent, independent. I didn't accidentally just wake up and one morning be like, I should be a crew agent. I had to learn from the bottom up. All the things I've done in my life. I nearly dropped myself in it and told you about some of my old jobs then.
What did you do?
Once upon a time in a land far, far away called London, I was actually a construction manager. I got sponsored. Ooh! I got sponsored through uni.
To construct what?
I was doing luxury high-end refits of. I worked for a few years.
Did you work for Trump?
I did not. I would rather gnaw my arm off. I worked for Harrods.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I used to do high-end retail. So, like Versace's and Gucci's and your Pradas.
I worked in the ski department in Harrods.
Did you? Up on the 5th floor?
For one winter.
Yeah.
And then I remember, to cut a long story short, it got to Easter and they said, who wants to work? And I said, I'll work Easter, no stress, because they're paying time and a half or something stupid.
Yeah.
I said, no problem. On the Friday before, well, it was Good Friday, the managers got us all together in the morning and said, by the way, we're not paying time and a half anymore for Easter. And so I went, right, I want to see the manager. I went to see I got an interview the next week with the men's clothes top guy, I don't know, fucking department guy. The guy who runs the whole of menswear in the whole of Harrods. And I sat down, said to him, I think it's unfair. I said, I think there's other ways to do it. I said, in reality, you should give people who are the best sellers the first opportunity to be here on those days when they would get time and a half, because you're going to make sales higher because you've got your best staff here. So first of all, you give the best people the opportunity to be here for time and a half. And he said, we haven't got the money for it. I said, you'd have the money for it if you had your best sellers here on Easter, because they'd be the best sellers when it's busy and you've got the tourists coming in and it's Easter and everyone's packing the place out. That's when you have your best sellers on. I said, but what you've done is generally screwed people around at the last minute, promised them they'd get time and a half, and a day before turned around and go, you're not having it anymore. I said, and people have changed their holidays and not been at home with their family to be here to earn time and a half, so they've got a bit more money in their pocket.
Yep.
I said, I find it very unprofessional. And he said, got his computer out, and he went, well, on the 6th of February, you were late by 10 minutes. And I looked at him and went, if you want to talk about my tardiness of coming into work, we can do that in a separate meeting. I came here today to talk about your unprofessionalism. I said, if you want to talk about my unprofessionalism, that's a different subject. I said, I'm not prepared to talk with you now unless you speak to my secretary and you get a meeting with me over in the ski department. I said, but here we're talking about you. And he went on, and I said, just as you know, I've looked you up online. I found out that you were employed from a very low-grade university in Germany at half the amount of money your salary is than the last guy that did your job. Basically, because Harrods is trying to earn more money, having a hard time. It's a bit of a recession. It was back in 2000, whatever. Very hard time for everybody. I said, so I know you're not as professional as you should be, because if you were, you'd be paid 120 grand a year, not 60. I said, and here's my fucking card. You can shove your job up your ass. I'm done with you. I said, all I've done is work my tits off here for you, and now you're just disrespectful. I said, so there you go. I said, you insulted me first. There you go, mate. And I walked out. I was so angry I was.
I'm not surprised.
So that was my experience with Harrods.
Yeah, good
in the old days of Mohammed Al Fayed.
Yeah, Mohammed Al Fayed. Yeah, I was there from 97 to 2000, 2001, something like that.
I wonder what year I was there. I can't remember. Maybe 1997.
So yeah, I did a training scheme with them. Because when I left school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did my A-levels. Under duress, my parents were like, "You please just do some A levels, please, for God's sake." I was like, oh, "I don't want to." I wanted to be an electrician when I was 16, and my parents were like, "Okay, you can still go and be an apprentice electrician, but please do your A levels first." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Kind of wish I had become an electrician, because then I would be absolutely loaded now, because the Sparkies can charge a fortune.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did this training scheme where I got to work in all sorts of different departments. So I was a buyer's clerk. I was in ladies' fashion. I worked in the fashion office, which was pretty much the Devil Wears Prada in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was incredible.
Wow.
I worked in recruitment it was only like 2-month placements. I worked in the toy department. Really strange people.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah, the most incestuous group of people I've ever known in my life.
But that's like, we're talking about Harrods toy department.
Yeah.
So that's really, they used to try and make it quite buzzy, didn't they?
Yes.
And fun, very, very much like Hamleys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where staff are throwing planes around it and all that kind of
doing
stuff.
And they're all sleeping
and it didn't
together.
quite work.
It was like a ski chalet, though. They're all sleeping
I
together.
can imagine. Yeah.
And I also worked in the technical services department, and I got to shadow the engineers, the architects, project managers, and that's when I thought, I could do this.
That was for Harrods retail estates.
No, for Harrods, the department store.
Oh, okay.
Because there's like millions of square foot of selling space. It actually warrants its own team. There's like 100 people up there.
Do you like Harrods as a store?
I did.
Okay.
I don't now, because it's been sold, and now it's just like a bit of a Disney World type
really?
thing. Yeah.
I've not been for many, many, many years.
Yeah, when I worked there, it was cool. It was a very cool place, and the ins and outs behind the scenes. The shop floor. Yeah, that's not for me. I couldn't do sales. I couldn't stand there all day and smile.
It is hard when somebody's trying on a one piece that looks stupid, a Bognor one piece in grey. And he's looking in the mirror and he's doing this, and it's something like $3.5 grand, and he's looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, he ain't skiing, is he?
No,
that's not warm enough. He just said to me he's going to Lek in January. He's fucked. This man's going to freeze. Do you want some thermals? He's like, I don't really like thermals. You're going to freeze to death, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
to die.
You're really, really going to need something warmer than a Bognor one piece that's this thick. Ain't a layer.
He's like, but look at my bum. Look at my tushy. It looks great.
He's looking at going, up at Cap Horn in Courchevel, I'm going to look the bollocks.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the après ski.
Yeah, we're going to be able to fucking see your bollocks. They'll be swollen from
oh my God.
From the cold, my friend.
Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, and hang on, why I'm waffling on about doing a training scheme, we talked about this in a crew thing the other day.
So we're getting back to yacht crew, so I do apologise.
Hang on, remember that thing I
had
do?
a bit of a rant about an old job I'm obviously still bitter about.
Yeah.
You love
You've not moved past that, have you?
No, whenever I get angry with a company like GoPro last week, I just go straight back
to the top.
To 1997 Easter. I'm like, right, I'm having it.
You're in the ski department. You've just been told you're not getting time and a half. The red mist descends.
Yeah. It's a trigger.
Get me my manager. But yeah, we were saying about in the yachting industry versus like the real world, the life beyond yachts. And also even like in the commercial maritime sector, people do.
You want some air?
And go on.
It's
then.
warm in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what this is going to be like in July doing a podcast?
Can you do it in the cheese fridge?
We could do it in the cheese. I reckon we could set up, and that's a good idea. Yeah,
it smells incredible.
It does, doesn't it? It smells of
cheese.
Yeah, and fresh cheese. Not that old stuff.
No, I'm not sure. It wouldn't be quite a pleasant environment if it was old cheese, would it? But blues and things, veiny cheeses. Moving on. Oh, sorry, I tapped the desk.
That's all right. You were talking about. You went back to yachting for a minute.
Training
didn't you?
schemes. If we look at the real world, management companies, not management companies, management training schemes exist. And it's like, even if you joined a commercial boat, you probably start as a junior, your deck cadets and whatnot, and they train you up and you get to be put through school, and you have placements on different vessels. Yeah. To earn your tickets and get your sea miles and get your experience, and you'll work with loads of different people from all over the world, and you'll specialise in deck or engineering, and at the end of it you come out of there with your OOW Unlimited for deck, or your engineering EOOW Unlimited, commercial tickets, which then can be used on yachts, which is great. But the yachting industry, because it's not like one big company, and it's all privately owned, we don't have any sort of training schemes like this where it'd be like, okay, I'm starting as a deckhand on this 30-metre boat. Oh, and then after this season, they're putting me onto the 80-metre.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
And I'm going to work with more people. And then from then I have a chat with my mentor, my careers advisor, and then I'll decide, they'll give me the opportunity of what sort of size team would suit my career path, where I want to go. And I think I'd like to stay with a bigger yacht and a bigger team, or no, actually I really prefer working with much smaller, so let's go middle range, let's go to the 45 metre. And I'm going to be working really closely on this boat because this boat does heli-op, so I'm going to get to do my helicopter operations tickets, or I'm going to get to do my PwC training. Or
so that doesn't happen in yachting?
No, because we just can't, and we don't have loads of yachts that all work together where we fleets. Fleets where we can move them around.
We have some Saudi Arabian fleets and some Qatar.
The Qataris.
And the UAE. We have those sort of fleets. Obviously, the Russian fleets are kind of dead in the water at the moment.
We don't talk about them.
Oh, do we not?
No, of course we do. But we can.
I'm not really sure what the right thing to do is.
I don't know what's happening with these Russian boats. Some of them are still around. Some of them are under the radar, and I don't know where the crew are, as I've said.
Yeah. Well, I know. I spoke to an agent in Turkey.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Russian vessels there.
Yeah.
And he said the big issue, I won't tell anybody who he was with the boats, but he says the big issue is that some of them aren't paying the bills on time.
Yeah, well, the
because
money's
they're trying to get money out, and if they've run out of money that they had in Dubai or wherever it may be, getting the money out is almost impossible. And so, some agencies are having some issues getting paid. Yeah, and then the boat just moves to another agent and gets a bit more credit. Yeah. I'm not saying that's everybody. I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm just saying the flow of the money is difficult because of the situation, and so this is affecting agents in different places in the world where Russian vessels are allowed. Dubai, there's quite a few vessels there. From what I gather, having looked on marine traffic, you can see quite a lot there as well. But a lot of the AIS is turned off.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I had friends who were working on boats over there, and they were like, "Well, that's interesting." Or like sending me a photo, and it's like, "That's blah 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 yacht," and it's like, "That's interesting." And then they're like, "Here's my AIS screen." It's like, it's not here.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. But are the crew getting paid?
Well, I've spoken to a few. I'm sure you have. I know a few chefs who have just literally had to move boat 2-3 months, not paid, promised to be paid, not paid, and they had a choice. You either stay hoping you do get paid for the last 2-3 months eventually, or you leave and write it off and go, I can't work forever for free.
How long do you wait? That's a horrible position to be in.
because it's a good job, pays good money, and all of a sudden you're not being paid on time. I mean, one chef said it started where it was a couple of weeks late, then it was a month late, then it was 6 weeks, then it was 2 months, and when it got to 2 months late, when I'm done.
Yeah.
This is going to go on forever.
Yeah.
And how long's the war going to go on for? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. It's a bit like COVID.
I mean, I think somebody does, but I definitely don't, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So this is the problem you've got as a crew member. I mean, I'm just talking to chefs, but it's got to be the same for captains. It's got to be the same for everybody.
Yep.
So what do you do in that scenario? If your crew stuck on one of those boats, like you said, in the kind of golden handcuffs, getting good money, thinking, well, it's a bit late, but I am kind of still being paid. How long do you wait? How long do you wait?
It's gambling, isn't it? You are totally gambling. But if it is a case of I've got bills to pay, you can't afford to wait. Yeah, you've got to cut your losses and go. Yeah, you can't, because what if it is another month? What if it's 6 months?
Yeah,
there's.
But I know a lot of crew that were on Russian vessels got new jobs straight away.
Yeah,
literally left the boat, got repossessed or whatever. They were on another boat the next week. They sort of gone and moved to another. A lot of crew this season already have contacted me on brand new vessels who I know from previous Russian vessels. So it'd be interesting to see how that works for this next year, because the longer it goes, the worse it will get.
Yeah,
the sanctions will cripple people eventually, and those crew that are on some of those vessels will eventually not be paid and end up having to look for new jobs. When will that happen? Will that be this season or next season?
Yeah,
be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, every year we get curveballs in this industry. I mean, I've been a crew agent for 15 years, and I can't tell you that. Oh yeah, well, normally.
It's never happened before.
There is no normal, and there's always something, and we never know what's going to happen. And especially dealing with crew, because crew are people. They are live. They are humans, and some years everyone moves around. And some years, for some reason, they don't. And it's like a ripple effect. You get a few people moving, and then lots of people will move. Or the little rumour mill will be like, oh, there's no deck jobs this year. Oh, God, I'll stay put. It's like, oh, there's no chef jobs this year. Okay, well, I'm not moving. And as you said earlier in the car, a lot of chefs have been put onto rotation. So, of course, that means there's a bit of stagnation there because they're happy, and that's great. They're happy in their jobs and they are staying put.
That's great, though.
From an owner's perspective, that's exactly what you want. You want a great established team staying put forever.
So this brings us back to mental health, because obviously if you're working on a vessel and you're not getting paid, stresses start to bring on. You could have properties that you rent out, they don't stop getting rented, you've got to pay the rent on them as well, or the mortgage on them without an income coming in. All of a sudden your money you've saved for the last 5 years starts to disappear. It's another mental health issue. So and I'm not saying you're a mental health professional, but you know what you're talking about. You've been in yachting for quite a while. You know people, you know crew. So what advice would you give to anybody who's working on a yacht who can see somebody seriously struggling, which may mean they're just not performing. It may mean they're drinking too much, or maybe even drugs, or whatever it may be. Who knows? The dangers of the industry with lots of money in your pocket. What advice would you give to a crew member who's dealing with a colleague who they can clearly see is having some issues?
Well, I mean, I've actually written lots of articles about this sort of thing, and I mean, the first thing I always say to someone is just to have a chat with them, because it might be something that's very easily resolvable. Or if you are genuinely worried about someone and you've pulled them aside and you have a little chat and you think, oh, this is a bit above my pay grade, I don't know what to do, then you've got to go and find a responsible adult. It's like we tell kids at school, you've got to go and find a teacher and tell someone. And if my co-worker is struggling with something and I think they could be a danger to themselves, or, something's not right, it could be serious, it could be minor, I would go and speak to a head of department. And it doesn't have to be your head of department, because maybe
on another boat.
On another
I can see
country.
They've just pulled in. I'll go and tell Jenny about what's going on over here.
And we need to have a word. Who are you? Get off my boat.
One of the girls having a really hard time. You don't mind taking her, do you?
Yeah. Do you need a new junior? No. But it could be, say I'm a junior stew and it's my chief stew.
Yeah.
Is suddenly, maybe a boyfriend's dumped her. Maybe something else has happened. Maybe it's all getting a bit too much. I would say to her first, are you okay? I've noticed you're not yourself, and depending on how that goes, I might speak to the chief mate. I might speak to the captain.
Yeah.
But to you'd have to bring it up in such a way, not you running telling tales.
That's the other problem, because it can look like that, and then your reputation on the boat is one of, I can't tell her anything because she's straight up to the captain's room, whatever it's called. What is it called?
Yeah.
Cockpit.
The bridge.
Bridge, that's
the
it.
Bridge, yeah. I don't call it a cockpit. Say that again, Damian. Cockpit.
I shouldn't use that word, should I?
Stop it.
Captain's room was better.
Yeah, the captain's room.
Yeah. The salon de captain. Yeah. But definitely not the cockpit.
Not the cockpit, no. Yeah, I mean, I would have a word with the senior on board.
Yeah.
And if you're a junior crew member, speak to someone who's a bit more senior than you. And, you know, some of the bigger boats should hopefully have some sort of system in, even if it's a bit of a loosey goosey one. Well, speaking to some management companies, like speaking to Edmiston a little while ago, I was asking them, like, what do you do? Do you have like a protocol in place? And someone else, I think it was Fraser's, the other day said, oh yeah, we have a phone number in the crew mess that a crew member can call if they're feeling that they need support. And it's like
Childline.
I would never ever do that. If I felt like I needed support and I was having a really rough time, I wouldn't call some random phone number and talk to a stranger.
My mum says I can't ride my bike on Tuesdays. I don't call Childline.
No.
I just deal with it.
Bet you did though, didn't you?
No.
Once.
Well,
did you?
Randomly. You didn't know it was Childline. It was just rhymey, wasn't it? 0800 800 88.
Double one.
I'll call that. Sounds like fun.
God, yeah. That's good advertising though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we still remember the jingles now.
We do, yeah. Do you remember the
Esther Ranson and Childline?
Yeah. Great.
I remember threatening to call Childline because, for some reason.
Whenever.
And I was like,
if I didn't get the sweets in the shop,
calling Childline.
Couldn't have another biscuit, I'd be calling Childlines, crying on the stairs at the age of 6.
Maybe that's why it fizzled out. There's too many of us spoilt
Can
brats.
you imagine how many fucked up weird calls they got?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they must have got the horrible calls, of course, like the Samaritans do. But the Samaritans probably sitting there going, John's on the phone again. Pissed.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with him. He's just pissed.
Yeah, he just fancied a chat.
But the problem is you never know when that call comes, do you? Whether the person is literally on the verge or whether they're just a bit drunk and having a laugh. There's a God channel I've seen. Sounds a bit weird, but I'll tell you, it's very funny. It comes up on TikTok. I don't know where this God channel, it must be in the States. It sounds very American.
It has to be, yeah.
It's live on air, and they do a call-in every day. You're asking for trouble, in my opinion.
Oh,
right?
my God.
So there's 2 of them on the panel, and they say, okay, Brian's called up. So, Brian, what's going on? Somebody started this craze where they would pretend, they'd say really nicely, so I've been following the God channel, obviously is really important to me. I used to be an alcoholic and now I've sorted my life out. It's all because of God, and found Jesus, and they go on and on and on. And the fact that you're on this show and you let people like me call in is amazing. I really appreciate it. And the presenter will go, Brian, it's great that you called. Tell us your story. And the story all these people tell as a joke is the story of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, that's amazing.
But they all say it in different ways, you know, but it all comes back to Philadelphia. And
I was born and raised in West Philadelphia.
Yeah, it always comes up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they say it in a way that it takes quite a long time for the presenters to realise what's going on. It is absolutely hysterical.
That sounds quite wholesome, though. I thought you'd say they were, I
hate people when I'm in the car.
Yeah.
When they indicate left and turn right, which happened to me 3 times yesterday, and I went, "What is it? Is it like a fucking game?" But I love people as well. When I see things like that, it makes me giggle. Now, I know you could say it's unpleasant on the people who are really religious. Okay, fine. But it's just a laugh. We all need a laugh, don't we? That's what TikTok's about. I love seeing that kind of thing because it makes me smile.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of silliness, a bit of shenanigans, a bit of, banter.
And I don't see much of it in the yachting industry. Not a lot of TikTok channels of crew who are having fun because it's kind of a secret industry to a certain degree, isn't it? You know, people couldn't see the name of the vessel on your shirt, for example, or the boat. You don't want anyone to know that you work on the vessel. It's still got this sort of very private sort of feel to it. Yeah. So if that's the case, how do crew deal with that? Because I've never worked on a yacht. So how do crew deal with the whole privacy thing? Because it is, I mean, some of them are signing NDAs. You can't tell people where the boat's going unless you go to marine traffic and you're going to see it.
Well, exactly, yeah.
But how do boat deal with privacy on a boat when you've got celebrities on, things like that? How are they dealing with that?
I mean, this has been going on for years, but and I think with the rise of social media, people want to tell everyone what we're doing. I'm living the dream. Look at my great life and all that sort of thing. But now it's harder than ever, but you just can't. You just don't tell anyone. You just don't tell anyone. I think you probably, in the old days, you might have sent an email, but you wouldn't have mentioned it. You probably just tell your mates down the pub after the season when you go home, and they're like, "So come on then."
P Diddy was on.
Who was on board? Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And it was like, we had the Kardashians, or we had Jay-Z and Beyonce in the south of France, or. I saw that in the Daily Mail. Or, people, your mates might say to you, oh, you're in the South of France, you're in Saint-Tropez, aren't you? Oh, yeah, P. Diddy's there, isn't he? It's like,
everybody knows that because he's going around in circles in a jet ski with his jacket on, with his tux on. So you can see him a mile away, to be fair. He's not trying to be private, is he?
Well, no, that's it. Some people want to be
60 bottles of champagne
private.
on, Dad. Come on, he's not trying to hide it, is he?
No, but I think it's basically, that's part of your job, is to be professional and discreet. And that means not posting a selfie with Rihanna's bum, like she's sunbathing. That's not the done thing. It's just professionalism, isn't it? Of course, and when you're working for ultra high net worth individuals, and you might be working in a stately home,
they're paying for that privacy.
They're expecting a level of service and discretion. Yeah. And also, and as you said, when you come on holiday, it's like you can disconnect. You can have, this is your time. Yeah. They don't need some idiot, doing a TikTok.
So is there ever a time when a crew member could ask Heidi Klum for a selfie?
I think yes, because there are these pictures that you see on the internet, on Facebook and that. But I think it's one of those, you probably want to see how they are, and maybe at the end of the trip get someone to, like, maybe the captain says, look, is it
Sally thinks you're amazing and she'd love a photograph with you, which she won't spread on the internet.
Just say that if you're not comfortable, that's absolutely fine, but is there any chance we could get a photo with you? And some of them are like, and the thing is, if they've got agents and managers with them, you ask them, and they might be like, absolutely not, no photos. But at the end of it, be like, and some of these people are really, really up for that, and quite happy. Yeah.
Would you be if you were famous and you went on a super yacht for a charter, 80 metre? Yeah. And you're really well known, like you are now, really, but just richer. Yeah. How would you feel? Do you think you'd be like, yeah, of course you can have a photo with me? Yeah. Or would you be like, absolutely not? I mean, I remember met Robin Williams many years ago, and he told me something that I'm waiting till I'm famous so I can put it into practice. But he was at an event I was in the French Alps I was organising many years ago during the Tour de France, and he came in and there was a barrage of people outside this restaurant, very public place, huge amounts of people, paparazzi, and he came on the balcony and he got a drink and he was standing over by the far side, no one could see him, and I walked over and introduced myself and said, anything you need, give me a shout, because I'm a slave, that's my job. And I said to him, how do you deal with that? And he said to me, there's only one way to deal with it. He goes, if I don't go out and give the people what they want, they will be there forever. They won't leave. If I go out and spend 30 minutes joking, photographs, giving people a hug, all the usual bullshit, they'll be happy, they've got the photograph, and they'll fuck off and leave me alone. Yeah. And I said, and then with that, he put his drink out and he went out. He spent probably 45 minutes with his fans, the paparazzi, photographs, hugging people, telling funny stories, being filmed. And he said, look, I'm going to go. I hope you've all got what you wanted. Have a great night. I'm going to go and enjoy my night. And he came in and they all left. Yeah. And I went, shit, that's the way to deal with it.
Makes sense.
Give them what they want. Yeah. Just give them their photo and their moment. They'll leave you alone after that. And you'll then have some peace. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Which absolutely is what you want if you're a super famous person. A bit of peace is like a dream, isn't it?
Well, so I worked for a diving company in the Bahamas in another life. This is after when I ran away to sea. And we did a lot of TV and film.
We've been about between us. We've been to a few places and done a few jobs, I reckon.
Yeah, done a few. I
bet our CVs are quite long.
Yeah. God, I haven't even got one.
No, I haven't anymore. But if we had to sit down, someone write it out, you go, oh my God. Yeah. Every job. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Can I have 500 sheets of paper, please? Yep. Give me a whole ream. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Just having, we had celebrities and things on the boats that we were, and film crews, and we were like basically safety divers and whatnot. And my old boss was a professional shark wrangler. And so
a wrangler? Yeah. That sounds like he's like strangling them.
No, just, so it's like, we need a shark to swim through this shot. So he would have the sharks. He would wrangle the sharks and have them ready to go.
I'm baffled. Is that... How
Yeah.
do you even... It's a wild animal. How the hell do you do that?
Carefully. With
What size sharks are we talking?
we're talking Caribbean reef sharks, like 6 to 12 feet usually.
It's still quite a heavy, hard bite.
Yeah, very hard.
So
bite.
what's he doing? He's holding them, and then as the guy gets shot, he throws it through.
What you do is, some of us there were shark feeders.
Were you feeding sharks?
I was a shark feeder. I was the first female shark feeder.
Ever?
I was not ever, but the one to do it, because his wife would now and again do it for photo shoots. But I was the first one to actually do it as part of my day-to-day job.
So when people ask if you've got experience in everything, you go, yes, I have.
Yeah.
I used to feed sharks.
I said to people, I would rather have the living shit kicked out of me on a shark feed than handle you lot after a few drinks.
They don't get that, though, do they? Because I think you're joking.
Yeah.
But right now, we've just found out
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
that's not a joke, is
No,
it?
it's not a joke.
So
no.
feed a shark wrangler is somebody who...
So what you do, right, when you're feeding sharks, you have these crates full of, like chunks of head of some...
Chump.
Yeah, chum.
Is it chump?
Chum.
Chump's a different thing.
Like pedigree chum.
Chump's the person who's not doing their job
Yes,
in the
that's
boat.
that's the person we've chopped up to put in the box.
Yeah.
And we had to wear chainmail, arms, legs, and a hockey helmet after someone got bit on the head. Before my time, that's like,
Oh my God.
yeah, oh yeah, it was full on. And what they would do, certain areas we would feed the sharks, and they're intelligent creatures. They would know that we would go to this place every day, and they get some nibbles, and they had like a pecking order. These sharks, they were quite respectful. It's like the big ones come in first, and then the smaller ones would just swim around and wait for their turn and pick up the scraps, kind of thing.
Greenie crew.
Basically, yeah, pick up the dregs. So my boss would obviously have the food, and he would attract the shark. They would go to the area, and it would be like, so you'd have the actor swimming through the water in a dramatic fashion, and we'd just feed around so that the shark would then swim through the shot.
Hold on. Whoa, so I'm an actor. Dream on.
Yeah.
I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Swimming in some ocean in the Caribbean, and some guy's fucking throwing chum in the water and
Yeah.
saying, "Here's a shark."
Yeah.
And I'm what? I'm not insured.
Yeah.
I'm literally in the shot going, "This is not."
Well,
When I saw the script, this was
talking-
not
yeah.
in the fucking agenda.
we're not talking tiger sharks, bull sharks, or great white sharks, which probably would come
But
and
they're
give
going
you
to
a little
smell that.
squeeze.
They're going to smell that
Yeah.
blood in the water from about 20 miles away, and they're going, "Hold on a minute,
Yeah.
Damian Pitt's in the water. Let's go
But-
and have a leg."
But they're not Damian Pitt. Took me a minute then. I was like, what? Oh. Damian Depp.
Whatever. I mean, he's swimming around in a load of Let's go and have it. He's bleeding
Yes.
to death. Let's get in there.
Yes. I mean, we used to take people down on shark feeds and they weren't protected. But the idea is that, you would sit still and not do this. Because
Don't wave at sharks. Is that your tip?
Don't wave at the camera because that looks like a floundering fish.
Right.
So
do
you could
anything that
get a
doesn't make you
nibble.
look like a fish.
Yeah, just sit still.
Strong pose.
Yeah, we used to make people kneel in the sand, overweight them so that they sink to the bottom, with their scuba gear, and keep your hands in. Try not
shit.
to wave. But the thing is, Caribbean reef sharks, they look big, they look the part, but they generally, I don't think one's
Quite docile.
ever killed a human. There's been some cases of mistaken identity where...
Mistaken identity.
Yeah, well, they
I'd
wouldn't eat a human
stick
on
that on the
purpose.
contract.
That's it. They might take a bite out of your calf muscle. Like somebody got bitten on the back of the leg quite badly because they just spearfished a hogfish and it was bleeding everywhere.
I need my calf muscle.
Yeah, it's useful for
It's
walking.
horrific. So this is what you did. You fed sharks to make sure they didn't eat the actor.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow, you've done some. So what other weird jobs have you done?
That's probably my best one.
That's your most fun.
Yeah, that's the most
Weird.
fun one. We used to do luxury dive charters, and we'd have big groups coming out, and we'd look after the group, and at the end of it would be the shark feed was
Wow.
like the pinnacle. But yeah, they would. I didn't do it very often because I chose not to, because you're covered in chainmail, you're trying to spear this food out of the box, and what the sharks do is they come in to feed, they roll their eyes back into their head to protect them, because their eyes are the soft squishy bits, and so they'd just be like coming at you with their mouth open like, ah.
And they can't see you.
They're like, drunken people walking at you, and they basically smash you in the face.
I've seen this down local kebab
And
place at 2 a.m. when
it's-
I'm walking back from a bar.
Again, very similar,
innit?
very similar, yeah. So they'd hit you in the face and your mask would flood. So you're trying to like get some water out of your mask, and then you're also trying to get, you'd have to wait for a good enough gap to then do a nice big smooth movement with your arm straight, and you have to keep your arm moving, because otherwise if one bites your arm, and the other one bites your hand, and they're going in different directions, then you could have a broken arm or a broken wrist from
lose it.
Well, they wouldn't, because they bite the chainmail, and generally they're like, it's like chewing on tinfoil. They're like, ew, this is gross.
How long did you do this job for?
I was there for nearly 2 years.
I thought you'd say 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I literally looked at the guy and went, are you taking the piss?
Half an hour, and I was out of there. And I asked for a new wetsuit, because mine was not wearable again after that. Yeah, a couple of years.
2 years?
Yeah, a couple of years, yeah.
Holy shit.
It was good fun.
So what made you move to Palma?
Well, I came back. I was passing through, actually. I was never going to be there for long. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do next, and I was considering going back into construction project management. And when I came to Mallorca, I was like, this is a lovely place. I like it here very much. And I got a job in project management, but this woman that I started working for was completely bonkers. And I was like, this is the most unprofessional setup I think I've ever seen. And with the cost, this is how we do it in Spain. It's like, it's not though, is it? Really? You're just a bit of a chance. That's just an excuse. And then it came out, she's like, I was like, well, where's my contract? Where's it? And, oh, no, we're not going to. Oh, yeah, all right. Okay, bye-bye. And then I went to work. That
happens a lot in these sort of places.
People
where
abuse.
Expats are out, taking the piss a little bit.
They take the piss. And they're like, no, this is how it works. Like, no, it's not. But I found this agency that were offering, for land-based work. So I was like, I don't want to be in the water anymore. Don't want to be on a boat anymore. I just want to be ashore and maybe have a normal life. And this agency, they said, we've actually got this couple of openings at a yachting company called Yacht Help Group. You remember them? Yeah?
Yeah.
And they needed an accountant, an assistant accountant.
This was back in 2000. Don't tell me. 2000 and... You...
2007.
Was it?
Yeah, 2007. And they needed a recruiter.
Wow. And
going back to my Harrods days, the other job that I nearly took that was offered at the end of this placement, this training scheme, was the recruitment company. It was the recruitment arm of Harrods. And I'd really enjoyed it, but I'd gone in a different direction. I'd gone on to do construction, because they were like, well, if you come and work for us, we'll give you a degree, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll put you on courses. And I was like, that sounds good. So I went for an interview with a lovely woman called Diane Franklin, who was the manager at the time. And she was awesome. And she said to me, right, well, which job do you want, basically? And I was like,
that company?
Yeah, I said, I'd really like to give this recruitment bit a go, because I had the opportunity, and it was, and then
But you've got a lot of experience in people from all the stuff you've been, the places you've been, the jobs you've done. It gives you a huge amount of knowledge, doesn't it, of how people are.
And I think, and especially like running charters with a lot of American guests out in the Bahamas. Reading people and looking after people and keeping them safe and making them feel good, and even when they're having a terrible dive, you make them feel good. And it was, you take a lot from construction, running teams of guys as a 20-year-old, and that was fun. It was challenging, but it was good, but it was hard, because you have to prove yourself as a woman, as a young'un, every time.
Is that an issue?
It was then, yeah.
Is it still an issue?
Yeah, definitely.
Women have to prove themselves more than...
Always, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So...
Maybe, I would say, hopefully, I would hope, not so much now as 20 years ago. But the thing is, once I did prove myself, which didn't take very long, then the respect was there. But whereas if you were a man and walked on site, the respect didn't have to be earned. It was already there.
So do you think that's true in yachting?
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you think... I'm going to just... hypothesize, because I want to know your opinion, but do you think that people how do I even approach this subject? Let's just say it how it is. My career's fucked anyway after the last podcast I did.
Okay.
So
mine's not, so be gentle.
No, we'll be gentle with you. But I can see that if you're a captain, highest percentage of captains are men. Would you agree? There are I know some fantastic female captains, and I don't need to say that. It doesn't really matter what sex you are, you can do any job, right?
Yeah.
But I know some excellent captains across the board. Majority of captains are men.
Yeah.
Majority of first officers are men.
Yeah.
Majority of chefs are men. A lot of women chefs, but I'm saying the majority, the percentage. If I look at every yacht I've ever worked with, over 400 different yachts, I would, without a question, over 300 of them, a man easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, there's more women all the time, which means, therefore, the women have fitted into two main areas. That's stews, okay, and purses. In my opinion, I could be wrong.
It's the interior department is traditionally a female role.
The issue with it is, and I'm going to say it like it is, but you're here to disagree or whatever. This is how people, I think, look at it. They go, if you're a chef, you need a qualification. If you're captain, you go on these long ass courses. If you're a first officer, you have to do all these courses and drive a boat and everything. Or whatever they call it. They call it drive a boat, sail a boat, I don't know, whatever. The point is, there's all these courses to do. And yet, the interior crew turn up for their interview and they've got different certificates and they're not the same in any way. So I think that's probably why women are probably still treated in this industry without due respect. Not all cases, I'm just saying, aren't that they deserve. They're not given that full respect. A chef will turn around and go, look, I've been in catering college, I've done my time. The captain will go, I've done 30,000 hours or whatever, so on and so forth. Where a stewardess would have what qualifications? I'm not talking about school and university and degrees. I'm talking about basically in their file, what have they got qualifications which are long-term things. Yeah. And I think this is possibly why they're not given the respect they should be.
Well, I think with the girls, obviously, the stews, male or female.
But most stews are female. We'll same as the captain thing. It's the other way around.
She.
A lot of stews are guys as well, but the job generally takes on women.
Yeah, it does lean. And to be honest, I think it's because the rest of the roles are so dominated by men. We need some women in there to mix it up. Otherwise, it's a sausage fest. Yeah. There's too much testosterone, and it's nice to have some women in there to balance things out. But and it is a bit of a traditional gender role kind of thing. But
I'd say on yachts, it's one of those places which hasn't really solved the gender role thing yet.
No.
Do you not agree?
No, I completely agree. But they need an STCW, their ENG1 medical. I would recommend that the stews. It depends on their background. They might have a really strong hospitality background. They might be working in fine dining or high-end hotels, or they've done chalet seasons. They've done ski seasons.
They've done ski seasons. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. They don't need anything else. But they've been trying to create this career path for interior crew over the recent years by doing these PYA guest modules, and at the end of it sort of culminates in this COC, your certificate of competency, that you'd have on deck or in the engine room. For a chief stew, you get a chief stew COC. But the trouble is, it's not whereas when you do the deck officer route courses, you're learning about legislation, rules of the road, in the sea. But you're learning, and same with the engineering, you're learning specific systems, rules, laws, and all this stuff that you've got to go through, all these guidance notes and this sort of thing for the MCA and all this stuff. Whereas with the girls, it's a bit more fluffier skills, you might call them, because it's it's not been taken seriously. Yeah. So because as a captain, they'd look at I'm looking for a new chief stewardess. Right, what have we got here? These two CVs. This one says she's got a chief stew COC. Oh, she's done some courses. What, in offshore napkin folding? And it's mate, or...
Is that your line? Is that your favourite one? I like that one.
Offshore napkin folding, what, level 2? Advanced, thank you. Or have you actually, or this other stewardess CV, she hasn't got her COC, but look, she's been running the interior of an 86 metre. Yeah, I think she can handle this lot.
Yeah.
They're going to look at experience, whereas for deck and engineering,
you need an actual
they literally have
if you can't do it, you can't do it.
They don't satisfy the safe manning requirements of the flag state of the yacht, so therefore you cannot get the job. It's not a nice to have.
What's the solution to this problem?
I'm not really sure there is one, because another problem, just leading on to the women in yachting thing, is that if you decide you want to have kids, well, then what? You leave.
Biologically, it's impossible for me to do that.
Yeah. Biologically, yes. However, no, but with men, it's always been traditional that the man stays on board the yacht, and works away from his children.
Yeah.
And they suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah.
Whereas with women, it's not like, I can have kids now, I can go back to my career at sea that I've spent thousands on to become a deck officer, for example.
Yeah.
So there is nowhere to go. If you get pregnant or you want to have a family and you want to actually see your children, even if you don't want to see your kids, but why have them? I don't know. But, you have kids and it's like, it's okay, my mum and dad can look after them while I'm at sea. It's, it's like...
hard, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like you're coming home every night. It's not daycare. It's like you're going to be away for months, possibly. And again, talking mental health, are you going to cope with that?
Yeah.
Are your kids going to cope with that?
So basically,
where's mummy?
Because of the biological and anatomical situation, that problem can't be solved. But it's not just on yachts that's a problem, Yeah. I mean, as you walked through my office, you didn't see a man, did you?
No.
Right? The reason is because I find women to be more conscientious, better at time, more organised. Generally, it's not. I don't only employ women. I have lots of guys working here. You just didn't see them. I hid them when you came, so I could say this.
Yeah.
No, but the guys that are doing the more traditional roles of the deliveries, the shopping, the warehouse management. Okay, that's the fact. So, I've always found that to be the case in many, many jobs and places I've worked. So it's not. But like you said, the problem is, recently one of Emma's fantastic, been amazing. She was here a year. She's gone to have a first child. When she's done, she'll come back. There's no issue with that because she lives on land.
Yeah.
So she can go home at night. She can have childcare, go home at night.
Yeah.
She's got her weekends. And in reality, because she's close, if something happens, she can get out.
Yeah.
And so if you're working on land, it's possible. But a lot of crew, especially females, are going to get pregnant. They may have a captain boyfriend who does another job on a boat. So he's going to stay because it gets paid real good.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So they come on land, and I've had a few over the years who come to work for us. And I think coming into this environment is actually really good. It's extremely flexible.
Yeah.
Most of the time you can work from your phone if you need to. So if you need to run off because of something, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that you can still then use your skills that you've gained within the industry by helping those people who are still on the yachts because you get it.
Yeah,
you know what they're dealing with.
And you know the pressures and you understand. If you haven't ever worked in yachts, maybe it is a little bit baffling to you when someone's like, no, we really need that lobster.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we
it's
need
not a
it.
joke.
Yeah, it's like, people are like,
yeah.
oh, I need a lobster.
If you've got that attitude, don't be in yachting.
Yeah, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't understand how important this is. Like, oh my God, we've got to have this certain toilet paper.
Yeah.
When I worked at Yacht Help Group, I remember a certain yacht that was black had to have black toilet paper flown in for them. And that I remember
Can you
sitting.
even buy black?
Well, I remember sitting in this office being like, wow,
cocktail napkin.
Yeah, this is incredible. Yeah, cocktail napkin.
Black cocktail napkin, simple, easy peasy. That one. Where are you coming from? Just chop them up.
There's someone in the back stitching them around a roll.
around the roll. Yeah, lovely, jubbly.
Things like that, and again, the provision. As I remember, once one of the girls from the Barcelona office flying in with lobster on a private jet for an owner.
You can't get lobster in.
No, it had to be this certain one, and she. No, I think it was something random. Like it was their client, and the yacht had come to Palma, and they were like, "I will not deal with anyone apart from her."
Oh wow!
And it was one of those like, and she's like, it's like, oh my God, is she on a? She's like, she said, she's like, I'm on a private jet with a lobster. This is probably the most surreal day of my life.
Did it have its own chair and its
own
gin
and tonic?
I think
it was strapped in. They probably had
I'd
to
like
keep
to
his
see a picture of that, to be honest with you.
It was before the days of bloody selfie phones.
Selfie
phones.
Yeah.
Like iPhones and that. I don't think we even had Blackberries back then.
We've done some crazy stuff over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back on it and go, normal.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting
Standard.
with friends somewhere and they're not in the yachting industry and they go, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened? You go, crazy, nothing really.
Yeah,
and then you tell a story and they go, that's fucking mental.
Yeah.
You go, is it really?
Yeah,
and it's normal
insane.
In yachting, isn't it? You hear stories from crew, you're like, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're telling me for. I've heard that 12 times this week.
That's it. Yeah, for us, as you say, it is normal, and it's some great stories down the pub, or just with your mates at dinner kind of thing. It's a brilliant industry. I think it's a really rewarding industry. as long as you can sometimes just take your brain out and leave it at the door, because and
you have to not take it too seriously sometimes.
Or personally,
not personally. Christ, if you do that, you're gonna have a breakdown. I've always said that if I took it, I did the first few years, didn't do me any good. I don't take it personally when a chef phones up screaming and shouting, because I know he's in the middle of charter. I know something's just happened, and I know the only person he can shout at is me. And I've got relationships with them where I'm like, don't worry. They phone you 3 weeks later and go, mate, I was having a breakdown. They go, I know you were. It's fine.
It's all right.
I just put you on mute, mate. And they go, cool, because I said some really nasty things. I'm like, I had it on mute. I didn't hear. I fucking heard. But the point is, that's part of the job, I think, if you're working in yachting. You have to accept the fact that the stress is very high. What do you think is the next evolution in yachting? So we're dealing with, obviously, the Russian market's changed. We're dealing with bigger and bigger yachts. I think the whole industry is still very, very young. And usually, when a young industry starts maturing, the first thing that happens is companies join together to be able to handle it. Because of cash flow, because of management, skill sets. But do you see, there's a lot of crew agents, isn't there, out there?
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, I get crew agencies sometimes calling me, I've never heard of them, about somebody who used to work here is now going for a job on a yacht, which is great, by the way. But I'm like, I've never heard of this. In London, there's 12 in London. I mean, it's incredible. What's evolution in yacht crew placement? It's got to change in some shape or form. Or what's going to happen, do you think?
I think it already has, to a point, because with the Yacht Spot that came about a few years ago, they nailed it.
Did they?
Yeah, I really wish I'd come up with that. It's brilliant. It's basically this big database where crew register on it, and then captains or whoever will pay a fee to be able to search this.
And it's got every agency on there?
No. Oh, no. It's not got agencies on there. It's down to the individual crew. Some agents, I think, can advertise on it. They pay a fee to Yacht Spot to advertise their jobs on there.
Right.
But basically, it's one of those things, you sign up to Yacht Spot, and then your CV's on there, and you are searchable, you are findable.
So a captain will go, I'm going to go on Yacht Spot, and he pays €50 a month.
And do my job, and look for a deckhand, but then they have to do all the background work.
Who's doing the background work?
The captain has to.
Okay, so generally it's not the same.
Oh no, it's
not what you do, because you go into detail, you interview the people, you make sure they've got their shit together, and then you say, right, there's a job, I'm going to put you forward for it.
Yes.
Is that the kind of thing that's going to suit you? Look at their personality type, their skill set, and the captain gets 3 CVs and goes, I know all 3 are going to be cool because Erica sent me this shit.
That's it.
I ain't going to waste my fucking time because I'm a busy man. Yacht Spot saying, do the work yourself, buddy. Here's 463 crew that might be able to fit your job. Have a crack if you like.
But some crew, some
Am I
yachts,
wrong or right?
You're completely right, but some yachts have the time to do that themselves. Quite often I do then get the call going, oh my God, my boss made me use Yacht Spot to save money. I'm shaken. I can't do it
again.
And
Sheila can't do the job.
And they're and a lot of them say, like, I have so much respect for what you do. How do you do that?
Well, it's hard.
Like, that's
Recruiting's
my job.
very difficult.
Yeah, but I like it. I'm a bit weird.
Yeah, well, you have to be in yachting. But the point is, nobody gives, I think, a lot of jobs that happen. You know, I think everybody in any industry is amazing for what they do, as long as they're good at what they do. I think in yachting, I think generally there's not a lot of respect given to many, many jobs out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about provisioning because we all know what they're like, scum. But no, I'm joking. But obviously we all work to make sure these crew get the best environment they can. So the crew are obviously pivotal. If they don't have the crew, we don't have the industry, right? Yeah. But on land, there's lots and lots of roles. There's crew agents like yourself, provisions like myself, other suppliers of product, engineering suppliers, you name it, right?
Yeah.
There's also management companies and brokers.
Yeah.
I'm finding it very difficult to find anybody from a management company or a broker who will come on this podcast.
That's interesting.
That says a lot to me. The fact that every single person I've asked so far is busy. Too busy, can't, no time for that. Or some of them have gone absolutely not a fucking chance.
Well, when I worked for a management company as a recruiter, and I worked, I got in trouble in, this was 2008, for my Facebook posts.
Oh yeah, you were in trouble?
Yeah, I was in trouble because they saw what I was posting and they're like, that is not in keeping with the company brand. you need to stop immediately, and we will give you
Right, Gary Lineker.
Yeah. I'll give you our PR person has done a Facebook page, not your profile, your Facebook page, and this is the format that you will follow. And it was like a sterile photo and the job description, because they were like, what if any of our clients see you posting it's wine o'clock or your silly memes and all this? And I was like, I don't think, your Abramoviches of the world.
Don't think they've got time for that shit.
Are going like, what's Erica doing on Facebook? I'm just going to have a little scroll.
I wonder what Erica's up to.
Chortle, FNAF. No, and I said, like, it's a whole different market. I'm trying to contact and be at one with the crew.
Yeah, and they are wine o'clocking it.
Yeah.
They are memeing it.
I know they are, because they've just knocked on the office door and told me and waved a wine glass at me from the bar next door.
Are you coming?
Yeah,
of
come
course.
along now.
You've got to appeal to your clientele. And our clientele, mine, are the chefs, the stewardesses, the crew.
Exactly.
Not the billionaire. Now, it'd be nice if the billionaires went, Damian's fantastic, use him. Because then the deal's done.
Yes.
I don't need to fuck about anymore. It's literally the chef goes, I've been told by Mr. Billionaire that I'm using you. And I go, great, fantastic. I'll still give you everything you need and treat you well, give you the respect you deserve as my client. But I'm glad that I don't have to go through that arty-farty bullshit anymore trying to convince you because the owner's just told you to. It would be a lovely environment. It doesn't happen. Because you know what? I've had, in all these years, one boat owner come to my office. 8 years I've been here. One time a boat owner's come.
Yeah, I very rarely work with the owners directly. If it's a smaller vessel, then okay. But the big boats, I have no idea who owns half of them.
Most of the time.
Because that's not my business.
Yeah, none of my business.
As long as, I have had to ask in the previous year or so, like, may I ask the owner's nationality? And then we can move forward or not, as the case may be. But, most of it's like, I often, I guess I would say if it was a chef or an interior role, like, can I ask where the owner's from? And with regards to what sort of food do they like, what sort of service do they like, what sort of people do they like around them? Because, if the owner's American, and I say, okay, so does he like or she like traditional American foods? Like, oh no, they're full keto right now, so or they like Mediterranean, or if the owner is Italian.
I know a chef who got sacked because the owners didn't know that he spoke Russian, and when they found out, they fired him. Because they didn't want one member of staff speaking Russian on the boat.
That's a common thing.
They talk shit. They chat.
Well, and again, it's like I'm in my space, and it's my bubble, my private bubble. I don't want to worry about people overhearing me, because it might be something like, oh my god, I've got piles. It might be something really personal.
Innocent.
Or did you hear about so and so's daughter? She's pregnant again. Unbelievable.
They don't want people to hear that stuff.
And it doesn't have to be Russian. It could be we've had it with like Italian owners where they don't want Italians on board because they want to speak to their partners or their kids.
It's the only reason I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of privacy. Otherwise, I would be a billionaire. I can talk freely and no one cares what I say.
Yeah, that's it. Doing podcast.
No one's listening. No. Even this podcast, people go, well, 3 people saw it and they're all Erica.
Yeah. It's me from my different profiles on my platforms.
So you see it changing in any way?
What, the yachting industry as a whole?
The yachting industry, crew recruitment, how that works. You're talking about Yacht Spot.
Yeah.
And obviously it's completely different from what you do, of course. It's a good service.
Yeah.
Of course, but it's not the same as what you do.
No, I'm very sort of, again, specialist or consultant.
A lot of boats need 3 CVs, not 23.
Not 27, exactly.
If they want 23, they'll go down the end of the dock and ask people to wander up with their CV. Stick it in the basket. They'll put it in the basket, put your CV here. Yeah. And here's a Snickers. Take this away with you because you ain't getting a job.
Bless. Yeah. At least we can do. Give you a Snickers.
Let you down slowly. Gently. Obviously, Snickers is a terrible idea in the heat.
Yes, someone left a Kit Kat on the passerelle.
I saw that on that note.
On face it's like, and someone's like, will the crew please hurry? Everyone's got anxiety. Like, is it going to melt on them?
Did you see the advert? I'm going to talk about it because I was shocked. I mean, when I say shocked, okay, it's not that shocking, but I did think it was a bit weird. It was on Facebook a month or 2 ago. I can't remember. Maybe it was even last season. I can't remember. It feels like it was yesterday because it's like, what? And they'd said, looking for stewardesses for the season. I can't remember I think it was about a 50-metre boat. I think they put some information down. And they said wages to experience. And then right at the bottom, after all this bump about the job, it went, must be comfortable wearing a bikini during service. Did you see that one?
I think that was a scam or a joke.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been duped.
Yeah, I think somebody might have posted that for...
I'm sure it was real.
effect. But no, there have been a few, and there's one that is a well-known scam.
And they didn't even read my CV when I sent it. They didn't even get back to me.
And did you send your full-length photo of you in the bikini?
Full-length photograph in the bikini. Well, I wore a mankini.
Yeah.
Nothing. Didn't even get a snigger.
How rude.
Weren't interested.
How rude. That's outrageous, isn't it? But yeah, there are a number of like dodgy jobs out there, and someone.
So when you're talking scamming,
yeah,
what are we talking here?
People,
a crew getting scammed out there?
Yeah, some crew get scammed. You get these adverts, and they usually offer ridiculous wages, and people are like,
high or
I'm
low?
going to be I could be a deckhand and earn €7,000 a month. Like, seems legit, and they're like, okay, great, yeah, and they'll have a little back and forth. And they're like, okay, great. Now the boat is actually in, like West Palm Beach. I understand you're in Spain. Yeah, I am. Okay. Well, right. We'll need to get your visa done. Now we can expedite that process.
For $500.
You need to pay us €1,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then of course they get that money wired to Western Union or whatever. So and it turns out they're in Nigeria or somewhere really random.
Really, is this going on?
Yeah, I mean, in the old days, a few years back, there was a whole bunch of them, and it was and it would be signed off like Captain John Smith, and it was like creative, and it's like P&O ferries. It's something really random like that under it. And
I've seen recently some cruise companies.
Yeah, cruise companies often a scam.
Is it?
But some of them aren't. Some of them are genuine. So that's awkward. Okay. But we went through a little phase just for fun a few years ago where I'd say, right, get their phone number and I'm going to call them. And so many times I phoned them up. And I remember once it was clearly someone who was in Africa, and it was a Nigerian, and this woman was just like screaming across the room for someone. And I was like, hello, can I speak to you, Captain John Smith, please? And she was just like in a very heavy accent yelling for this guy. And then and he was like, and he answered in a very strong accent, hello, I am Captain John Smith. And I was like, you're not though, are you? And he's like, yes, I am. I was like, no, but you're not, are you? And this is a big scam, isn't it? You're trying to extort money from
You should do it on TikTok
people.
videos. Be hilarious. Catch scammers out.
Yeah,
be great fun.
That would be fun.
You sitting by your computer with your headset on, calling these people up on your computer with WhatsApp and saying, Captain John Smith, please. Yeah. There's a John Smith captain out there now going, this is outrageous that my name's been used.
Yeah, absolutely. yeah. Oh, but yeah, we catch them out, and then I'd say and I'd usually end it by saying, we've traced this call, the police are on their way. And you'd hear them absolutely shit themselves.
Really? They believe that the Nigerian police have been called and are going to whiz over?
Yeah. And but there are people, they're much more elaborate these days, these scams. And I think, because everybody's had the African Prince email at some point, or,
did you see the video, the picture?
I'm not
in
sure.
the guy's apartment in Nigeria with
all the money, and he's like, why won't anyone help me? Yeah.
He got raided by the police and all this money's there. It's like a piss take of the whole thing, saying, we've been trying to give it away for years. Nobody's interested.
But so there's all these elaborate scams now, and it's, people will use WhatsApp and things, and there was another one. It's not a scam, it's just a shit job. And this guy in Mallorca
1,200.
Yeah, and it's like, and they sent me this woman sent me the contract that had been sent to her. It was a friend of the family. She said, Erica, can I just pick your brains, because I'm not sure this is real, and she's about to get on a flight tomorrow that they've made her pay for. I'm like, well, there's your first red flag.
Yeah.
And I looked through it and I was like, hang on a minute, this rings a bell, let me talk to some people. And I came back and they were like, no, red flag, tell her not to come, not to join the boat. And he underpays the crew. He says he's like, does charity charters. I'm like, so therefore that justifies him paying peanuts.
It's madness.
And it's like, I'm sorry, these are charity charters.
So your tip is, keep your eyes open when you're looking for a job.
If it sounds too good to be true,
especially green crew, they're the ones who are probably being caught with this, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. If it sounds too good to be true, then it is. And as I'm every now and again, regularly, I'll post on my social media, like, guys, if
careful.
You need any advice, doesn't have to be a job through me, I will listen.
Call me after 8 p.m.
Yeah. Just give us a shout. Just send it to me, and I'll say, no, that is legit. No, they're just a bit flaky.
What I want to find out in a second, I'm going to quickly whiz to the toilet. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to pause it, and then when we come back, I want to find out what your tips are for crew this season looking for work. Because we've got a lot of crew in Palma, a lot of crew in Antibes right now. If you walk through the streets of Antibes at 2 a.m., they're everywhere.
Yeah.
I think some tips from you, knowing your business, knowing recruitment.
Yeah.
that should be something which is vital whilst you're here.
Yeah.
Because they don't get a chance to see you and talk to you maybe as much as you want, because it's a global industry now.
Yeah.
Yacht recruitment. They could be anywhere. I think there's some basic tips on what they should do to find a job.
Yeah.
How to do dock walk. Very simple stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll pause for a second and then we'll do that.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so we're back. Quick break. So yeah, what were we talking about? I was going to ask you before we finally wrap up, because we could probably talk forever, and you've got a holiday down the road, so we've got to be aware of that.
My Aperol Spritz is getting warm.
Yeah, you set it out, put the ice in, and now you think I'll have that when I get back.
Yeah.
So, advice to crew, because you really do know recruitment.
Yes.
That's your profession. That's right now, it's your number one thing.
Yeah.
So tell us, if you were a crew member this year, let's not talk about the experienced people, because I think they know the score.
Yeah.
But green crew, what advice? I'm talking anything to do with dock walking, applying to agencies, which is probably hard as a green crew.
Yep.
What's your best advice? Processes.
Number one, you've got to be where the action is. You could possibly get a job from afar, but you're making it very, very hard on yourself. So, I'd say to anyone, even if they're thinking of doing their tickets to pursue a job in the industry, make sure you then save up your money to come to Antibes or Palma in the springtime, or the Caribbean, or if you're American, obviously to get down to Fort Lauderdale or up to Newport, in the other end of the year, the autumn time. Well, Newport's a summer season like ours. But, do your research before you even start, number one. There's plenty of advice out there online, So my second piece of advice is to follow me on, if you look at my website, there's a community webpage, and it's on the website, and it's a community page. There's tips and hints on your CV, on interviewing, and getting started in the business. All this sort of stuff. The information is all out there. You can look at that. You can contact me directly. You can look at Facebook. My Instagram, I share all my reels on there. I do videos on TikTok, and it's all geared towards helping crew.
Tips.
Tips and hints and things that, that are perhaps back in the day, I would be able to speak to people one-on-one, but then I'm only sharing this with a very small group of people.
But if for not wanting to stop people looking at your socials, because that's obviously important. Yeah. If I'm new and I'm setting up a CV, what is an absolute priority for a yacht CV, which I think is a little bit different. I mean, when I send out adverts, I say send me a full CV. Yeah. That to me is my first test.
Yeah.
Can you send it to the email address that's on the ad? Yeah. Or are you going to send it to me as a photograph on the Facebook to my personal page?
Yeah. Follow instructions.
Follow instructions for me is key, because if you can't do that when applying, you ain't going to do it when you're working. No. So that's number one for me. But what's on a full yacht CV? What should be on it?
I mean, your personal information is going to be name, date of birth, nationality, location. Don't tell us your passport number. We don't need your passport number. Try and keep something away from the identity thieves. Your photo, top right corner, and that is because of CV psychology. Nerd, studied that. Right?
But that's cool.
But it's got to go in the top right. Put it on the top left. The brain's like, no, it's a glitch in the matrix. We don't like it. Okay. The eye naturally casts from right to the top right to lower left, and we don't even know we're doing it. We might not physically.
What about left-handed people?
Doesn't matter.
Do they do it the other way?
No.
If you know the captain's left-handed, stick your photograph. No.
Yeah, no. I like it, but no. On your CV, I would say don't waste too much time on snazzy graphics. We want content, and it literally just black and white. We don't need pops and this, and you're sacrificing space for fancy graphics. That won't get you a job. What we want to see on there, your personal information, I want an objective. I want it clear and concise. I don't want to hear fluffy stuff like I'm a team player.
Yeah, bullshit, isn't it?
It's like, well, none of us are.
If you're not a team player, don't apply for a job.
No, exactly.
For a kick-off in a team.
I'm self-motivated. I'm self-starter. It's like,
if you're not, don't get out of bed.
You're a miserable sod until you've had 2 coffees. Don't just
tell us the truth.
And that's for all levels of CVs. Don't wax lyrical with too much fluff. I am actively seeking a deckhand position on a motor yacht. Lovely.
Yeah.
That's
very simple, but tells me what the score is.
Yeah. And then perhaps underneath that you might say, growing up on the Solent, I've been around racing dinghies, blah, blah, blah. Or having worked in hospitality for the last 5 years, I am very keen to pursue the interior of it. Just a little bit, couple of lines.
I love attention to detail, which is why working as a chief stewardess or stewardess is for me really exciting.
Yeah.
Whatever relates your personality to the role, possibly.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Something your objective is clear, and then just a tiny blurb about why. Why I should give you that job. And then I want to see your qualifications. And then I want to see your...
relevant only to yachting or all my qualifications? Because let's be fair.
I don't care about your GCSE results.
No one cares about GCSE results. And even A-level, to be fair. I mean, what relevance has that got on what you're doing when you were 16 to what you're doing when you're 24? Come on.
I would do, yachting qualifications or relevant qualifications. Then I do your work experience, which we'll come back to in a sec.
Even if it's working in a cafe, it's relevant.
It's relevant.
Yeah.
Anything that's relevant
Anything
to
service
yachting,
industry is relevant.
Exactly. And then after that, I would like to see perhaps other qualifications that are not relevant to yachting, and I don't mean your GCSEs and your A-levels. It might be I got a Bachelor of Science in Sports Science at Plymouth University.
Yeah.
That's good to see. And then I want to see hobbies and interests. Again, just a few lines.
So I've got a thing about hobbies and interests. A lot of people say things like, I like socialising, going to the cinema.
I don't anymore, really.
It's fucked up,
no.
isn't it?
But
it's weird. If you didn't, you're not human. I mean, that's what humans do.
Most people in their hobbies and interests will be like, I'm an avid kite surfer, if they are. Or, I'm a real foodie. Or I think it's lovely because sometimes I see brand new crew and they're like, I played the piano to grade 8, and it's like, okay, so we've got someone who's a bit musical on board. That could be up for a good, it's just something else.
For the old sing-song around the old Joanna.
Yeah, the old Joanna, And
I remember somebody on the CV wrote that they love to play the flute. And I said, whilst I love the fact that you have this... passion, it's not going to be relevant until pretty much the end of season party. Where it will become very relevant.
But I mean, look, especially looking at the green crew, we're saying about personalities and how that will help you. I want to see your hobbies and interests. It might be like, I like rock climbing, or it might be like, I really enjoy fashion. And it just, that might strike a chord with someone who reads your CV and goes, oh, I like that too. Or really keen, really outdoorsy, love hiking, love running when I get the chance, or I'm big into yoga or meditation, and that's it. If you get someone who's very sort of zen and yoga meditation and breath work and all that, it's like, that's not going to work with that yacht. But I tell you what, she'd fit in beautifully with them.
Okay.
And for me, the hobbies and interests is
something you're interested in, especially for green crew, because they may not have the experience.
No, so they
need to have something on there that says, I've got relevance here.
And some sort of common ground with other people. But the work experience, keep it neat and tidy. And again, on my website, you can find how to write your CV format-wise and that sort of business.
So you have that on your website as well? Okay.
Yeah, a CV writing guide, and I don't...
Not a template?
No. I like people to be able, that's the first sort of test. It's like, can you write your own CV? Even if you're like, I don't know where to start, you can Google it. It's easier than ever now. But I don't really like the CV writing services so much because I think sometimes they regurgitate too much. And I'll know when it's come from a certain CV designer because it's exactly the same as the other guys, one on my desk that are a Y3 engineer.
Yeah.
And there's one that does it, and sometimes perhaps they're English not first language, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you're what now?
Yeah,
that's interesting. And people have paid a lot of money for a professional CV writer, or a professional CV writer who doesn't know the yachting industry.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, and I'll be like, but where's that thing you said before? Oh my God, why have you taken that out? They said it wasn't relevant. I'm like, so everything in your work experience, think about what makes that relevant to the job that you want now. So, I mean, even if you're a very experienced crew, and sometimes they're like 3 pages long. I'm like, look at the size of the chunk of text on your first ever deckhand job. I was big with the chamois and I was tying the knots and I was fending off and I got to drive the tender. And I said, and look at your current one. You've been chief officer for a year on a 50 metre and you're giving me one line.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, think about where you want to be now. And don't just keep adding without, now and again, once a year, look at the older jobs and think, I can probably cut that down a bit now.
Yeah, because it's not as relevant anymore
No, it's
because
not
you've
relevant.
got more experience that is more relevant.
Exactly.
So use the latest job as the bulk.
Yes.
And the older jobs, them
They
should
get
gradually get smaller.
yeah.
And that first job you did is
Yeah.
really just a one-liner.
Yeah.
Because it's actually relevant. I mean,
Yeah.
it shows experience, of course, but it's not the relevant line.
It's
this
not-
last job
yeah.
when you're on a 60 metre as an engineer, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
tell us about the systems you implemented and all this sort of business. And
I
think
also
about
believe
that.
people should change CVs depending on the job they're going for.
1,000%, yeah.
I see people send. I've had people apply for 3 different jobs here, sent the same CV. When I used to apply for jobs, I would literally go, well, that's the job I want. I'll change my CV now because the relevance that I had in that job is not the same relevance as it was for the other
Yeah.
post I was looking for.
Yeah.
And you have to tailor your. I think it's a skill looking for a job.
Yeah.
If you think about it, somebody says, "Oh, I'm not a very good salesman." Well, do you look in the mirror before you leave your house?
Yeah.
And they go, well, yeah, of course I do. Well, you are. You're selling yourself as soon as you walk out the door.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in a sexual way.
Yeah.
We all leave the house trying to present ourselves how we want the world to see us. Some people don't care. But generally, 99% of the people do. The CV is an extension of you. And it should be seen as an extension of you. And if I'm talking to you about a subject, it could be a different person to a degree. If I'm just talking to you about yachting, I've got business in yachting, I can have a joke, but I've got to be professional because I need people to know I give a shit. But if I'm talking to a mate in here about politics, we'll take the piss.
Yeah.
It's a different conversation, therefore you play yourself differently. The CV's the same. If you're going for a first job as a greenie, your second CV after you've done 2 years on a boat, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
You've not got it designed the same. It should be a redesign, in my opinion. I'm not sure. Is that relevant, do you think?
I think, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say a redesign because quite often if you start off with a good, strong CV, then you will just add to it. But I still think that CV should be 2 pages if you need it. If you haven't done anything yet, then you might not need 2 pages. But
Or
you know,
big font.
yeah, no, I feel like people like me are like, I can't read that in this light. What? But you know, have the 2 pages because this is when we're applying online. This is your opportunity to sell yourself, as you just said. You know, so get everything on there. All right, and we can always then crop bits out and think you don't need to mention that, or you know, that's a
But
bit
cover
too much
letter
info.
is important, or not.
I don't. It depends. It really depends. So, I mean, for me, I don't generally need a cover letter from crew because I'm speaking to them, I'm learning about them, and my introduction email to the captain or the client
Is the cover letter.
because I've picked the best. And again, it's a bit like tailoring your CV for the job. If I know you're looking for a chef who's done specifically really strong on Italian or sushi or something, I will say, you know, on the CV, and I say now, and Andy has actually worked in Japan under this head chef, you know, and done this, so I think he could be really good for your clients.
Yeah.
You know, I'll pull out the bits that could
That
help,
relevant, that
could help that person
because
be sold to the
would you say that the captain is looking at these CVs, but not necessarily noticing maybe that where that skill set is? If he sees, I worked in this restaurant, he wouldn't necessarily go, well, I know that guy's a professional, really high-end Japanese sushi maker, so actually this guy's got your shit together. He wouldn't, so therefore
that's
you're
why they use
pointing that out. You're going, by the way,
Yeah.
this guy's kick-ass.
Yeah.
For this reason, and that's really relevant, and that's another reason why people should be using a recruiter like you.
Absolutely. It should make their lives. I'm here to make their lives much easier and
You're
save
spotting
them tons
the
of time.
intricate detail.
I'm pulling it
that
out
they
of
just
them.
can't see because they haven't got that knowledge. And no disrespect, they're a yacht captain. They may not know anything about chefs.
No, and they shouldn't have to know all that. That's why people like me exist.
That's why they pay you.
But you're talking about underselling yourself. It's like so many times I'll be speaking to a crew member, I'll be looking at the CV, and I'll say to them, right, okay, you put this on here. So there were no guests on board, and they're like, "What? Well, you haven't told me, have you? Were you just sitting in port?" And they're like, "No, it was back-to-back charter." I'm like,
"That's a different game."
I said, "You know what the thing is? When people read CVs, they don't know they're doing it, but they tend to assume the minimum.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of it. And I say that to people, like, you know, if you don't tell us what you did there, we'll assume." That you did the least. You did the minimum.
Would you say if you've been on a yacht for a summer in the Med and you did 8-week charters, under that part you go, we did 8-week charters, because 8-week charters is a shitload of charters in a summer, isn't it? And that shows you've got staying power. You've got the ability to stick to a job without leaving halfway through.
You didn't kill anyone,
and you didn't kill anyone. You know, but that's a really relevant point for a captain who goes, I've got a busy yacht. wow, this girl did 8 weeks solid charter in the middle of summer last year. Oh, this is what I'm looking for. So it's about that knowledge of what people are looking for.
Yeah, make sure you spell it out for us. You know, when you write your CV and you do your job description under each yacht, don't assume that people know what you do on that yacht, because every yacht's different. As we said, they're all privately owned, you know, so and say, I want to know if it's private or charter. Some private yachts are busier than charter yachts, more demanding.
3 solid months.
Exactly. You might have liveaboard owners. You know, that's a great one to put on there if you have, you know, had the traumatic experience of a liveaboard owner who's been like, I'll be here for 3 months, but don't worry, you won't even know I'm here. Like, oh God, you liar. But, you know, this has been horrendous. But, you know, say, you know, really quick turnaround between, we had, sometimes we only had 24 hours between, you know, between guests. You know, super busy or not. It might be fairly laid back, family owned yacht. You know, and the thing is, it's like not everybody wants that hectic, crazy, busy charter environment. Some people are like, no, I want a nice sort of quieter, family based sort of.
So what advice would you give? Because I personally think there's not enough ski people who come down and do this job.
Oh, I'd love more.
So we'll get this out to ski resorts as well, because it's the end of their season. Some of them are still messing around, but a lot of them on those Facebook groups, and so we're going to try and get them to see this, because I think it's really important at this point. I really have a lot of admiration for ski resort staff for several reasons. One, they're in a place that's like the middle of the ocean. You can't get everything quickly. It's isolated. You're stuck with a group of people in that environment. It's very incestuous. So on and so forth. So many crossovers, it's incredible. I also think because ski staff work minimum 6 days a week in the winter, sometimes 7, they work long hours. They understand that they have to look after their customer, because that's the only thing that they're there for. I think that really translates hugely. Now, they may not have the yachting background, but in an environment where they've had to look after good, you know, people in chalets and hotels and stuff in the Alps, I think there's a lot of transferable skills. And if we are running out of staff or crew with the experience, this for me is the perfect place to go and get experienced people, maybe not on yachts, but definitely that can transfer over. So what advice can you give to ski resort workers who, I worked in the Alps, who'd never heard about yachting. I'd have probably done it if I had, even if it was just the summers. What advice can you give people who work in ski resorts who've never worked in yachting, never heard about it? First time they hear about it is this podcast, and they're thinking, whoa, hold on a minute, I can get paid what? What do they need to do to get a job in yachting?
Get their STCW and get themselves to One Seaboard Palmer.
An STCW, for those who don't know,
an STCW is your basic safety training course. So you've got your there's 4 modules: firefighting, first aid, survival, and then personal safety and social responsibility.
A lot of people in the Alps do these on their courses when they join, so it's not going to be unfamiliar to them. They won't have the STCW 5. I said it too fast. It's called these. They've done a lot of those. When we did training courses up there, the staff had to do all of these things.
Yeah, I would hope so.
So they've done them. They just haven't done the STCW 95. So they even can transfer those skills and go and get that course.
Yeah, it's an attendance course. It's pretty straightforward. It's 4 days. I say before you do that, probably get your ENG1 medical, which is a doctor's certificate from
Say You're Human.
A seafarer doctor, an approved doctor who can issue these particular
I have to get one of those done just to play golf in France.
Really?
Yes. So if you play golf and you don't have to be a member of a club, but you have to get insurance. It's got €57 a year in case you hit a golf ball and kill somebody, or if you get knocked out by a golf, whatever it might be. If you hit your ball and it hits a car in the car park, you're covered. So you need this insurance, but to get that, you need to have a health certificate. So you have to go to your doctor and get a basic health certificate. It's a very similar thing. It's to prove that you can walk around a golf course without an heart attack. So it's very similar in some respects. But you need to get an ENG1.
Medical clearance by an ENG1. And then you get, your STCW, which is your basic safety training. Then if you want to pursue a deck role, get your powerboat level 2.
So that's being able to take a tender of up to what,
yep,
10 metres?
Drive a little boat.
Is it 10 metre tender or
no,
6 metres? No, 6
6
metres.
metres,
6
yeah.
metre tender
Yeah.
where you can have the licence
Yeah.
to drive it, and you'll be on the boat's insurance.
Yeah.
So that's essential.
Yeah, you can't drive that boat
without that.
And
that's 600 quid for a 2-day course, I believe. 600 euros for
yeah,
I
tell you
think
how
pretty
much
much
it
around here is about
yeah.
600 for a 2-day course.
Yeah, that's your number one if you're pursuing deck. If you're pursuing interior roles, stewardessing or chefing, just need your ENG1, your STW, and a food hygiene level 2, which you've probably already got.
Yeah, well, you last for 3 years if you've taken it, but
Right,
you can do it online.
They can do them online now.
Yeah.
They didn't used to be able to do that, but thanks to COVID, now you can. So
if you're English
makes life
speaking, there's
easier.
websites in the UK. You do it 20 quid. It
Yeah.
takes 4 hours if
Yeah.
you've never done it before.
Yeah.
And it's a multiple choice of 30 questions.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too hard for a level 2.
Yeah.
I think if you're a chef, if you're going to be on a charter vessel, you have to have a ship's chef's certificate if it's over 30 metres.
I would say if we're talking about crew who are starting out, then that's the basic minimum you need to go on deck.
Okay.
Or I mean, if you're pursuing engineering, perhaps you've been the handyman, the maintenance guy up in the shallows, then your engineering certificate to get your gateway certificate is called an AEC, which is the approved engineering course level 1.
And that's
a
test.
week. Yeah, it's a week, but it's multiple choice.
Okay.
I don't know anyone who's failed.
Okay.
To be
And
fair.
that allows you to be an engineer on a yacht.
Yeah.
What level are we talking here?
We're talking. I mean, it might be. You might be deck engineer supporting a chief engineer. No one's going to hire you as a sole engineer.
No.
But it's just to
because you put a nail in a door up in the Alps doesn't mean you can go running a.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
You're not going to go and run a super yacht, but yet. But yeah, and then you say going back to the chef, if you are then looking down the line and you want to work on a yacht which has more than 10 crew,
yes,
then you do the ship's cook certificate, which you can do in England or in France. You can't do it in Spain at the moment. They did the grandfathering in where they look at your previous experience and your certificates, and they might say, okay, you've just got to do the skills test. You don't have to do the full course. But I don't know what's actually required right now. You might have to do the full course, but that will allow you to work on the much larger vessels. But I would say if you're just starting out,
don't need it.
Don't spend all that money, because you might do a season and go, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And then you've wasted money. So and if you go to a sea school, obviously they're businesses, they're probably going to try and upsell you and give you get a few more courses and things. But a lot of the chef schools in the UK, like Ashburton, for example, they do yacht-specific training schemes, training sessions, but you might just do the basic cookery, that they're offered, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be yacht-specific. It's one of those. Look into it. I mean, you can find enough research online, and if you know people who've done it, speak to them, and they'll give you the nitty-gritty, and they'll tell you hopefully more behind-the-scenes stuff to help you make those decisions on what courses you want to do. But I always say to people, when you're just starting out, do the minimum of the courses, because you might hate it. You might get terribly, cripplingly seasick, and might not be able to get past that. You might love it, but just want to vomit all the time, which is not ideal.
I mean, it's a tricky thing, training. Because, I remember when I first went to the Alps, I wanted to work as a ski technician. Mm-hmm. Nobody would take me on because I didn't have any knowledge of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like trying, I'll drive, I'll drive the boat, no problem. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. Right. So nobody would give me a job. But one summer I actually went and did a ski technician's course in Kendal, mm-hmm. which was a proper ski technician's 3-day course. You learn how to do all the bullshit. Yeah. Set binding, stuff like that. And I did get a job after I had the certificate, because I had the certificate. In fact, I was top of the list at that point because nobody else had it. So I really do believe that training is a great thing as you're progressing a career in any particular industry. I think for stewardesses to have, even if you've not done a course, but you've got a friend's florist who helps you do a day with them to do floral arranging, and you put that into your CV.
Absolutely.
It shows that you've got a little bit more about you. I always think people that say, I didn't need to do this, but I worked with my local friend who owns a florist in my hometown. I spent 2 days in there learning as much as I could because I really want this role. That to me, in the notes and hobbies or whatever, is really relevant because it shows an attitude difference. to somebody who didn't bother doing
someone
that.
who's just pushing a bit harder, but
just a little bit more to show me you've got what it takes to push through the barrier, become what you want to become, self-educate. For me, so many people expect everything. They go, oh, Google will tell me. Well, it will tell you, but self-educate before you need to know it. Don't do it as you're at work going, right, flowers. Or origami napkins. What you want, a swan, do you? Let me have a Google. You need to know that shit before you turn up. And you might not need to know it, but if you can do 3 decorations of towels on a bed and you can show that to the captain or a chief stewardess on your, I'll do it now.
Yeah, I'll do it
Boom.
now, come on.
They're going to go, shit, this person cares.
Yeah, and it's like, look for opportunities. Like, we see loads of yacht chefs. When they finish a job, they'll go off and do a stage in a restaurant somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and it's like, oh, tell me about that. And it's also a really good talking point.
You work for free to learn more. Yeah. That shows you want to be the best you can.
I mean, with the interior crew, the stewardesses and stewards, it's like if you haven't got a strong hospitality background or housekeeping or chalet staff where you've done a bit of everything, then it's a good idea to look into the PYA guest courses, and they do like introduction to stewardessing, and you can pick and choose the ones that suit you. So you might be, I don't know, a sommelier, so you're not going to do the one on the wines, or you might know nothing about wines and think that's something I'm really interested in, and then look for some wine courses. And you've got the WSET wine courses, level 1 and 2 and whatnot, and all sorts of things. There's loads of courses out there that you can do, and there's online courses you can find, and literally do it in your bunk at night and listen in, get your headphones on.
Well, that's exactly it. Self-education. The thing is, you don't need to be an expert at these things. If you have a bit of knowledge about lots of stuff that might be relevant, then you can progress that knowledge on board. Yeah. But you've got a better chance of getting employed if you go, I can do that. I'm not the best. I can give it a crack at learning. Yeah. People love to hear that. Yeah. They like to hear that you've got a passion for it. Yeah. And if you're a chief stew, you're employing a greenie, you want them to show some passion for what they're doing. Absolutely. And I think that's vital. Yeah. Get the CV, get you in the door. When you're sitting there in front of somebody, that's when you go, I can do several napkins. I know it sounds stupid. People go, what are you talking about?
Hey, no,
but being able to do certain things, to decorate that table in a different manner, what it does, it takes a bit of stress off the chief stew, who goes, well, no one else can do it. It's down to me again, isn't it? Whereas if she's got a couple of people who go, well, I can do a swan, I can do this, I can do this, I can do the beds, I can do this cool thing with the towel. She goes, well, this is excellent. I've actually got somebody else here who can outperform, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Well, that's what you want in a team. A good head of department, a good manager or leader should be hiring people who fill in their weaknesses. Yeah. Or something like, let's say I'm the deck officer on board, and it's like, I hate tender driving. It drives me insane. So I'm going to hire someone who's he's got powerboat level 2, who's got experience from the last 3 years. Oh, they had 3 tenders on that last boat. Epic. But would you not? He's my new bosun. That sort of thing. But you wouldn't employ the deckhand. You're going to put him into a tender day 1, are you?
Absolutely not. No, especially not with guests. Well, you might in a training situation. Right. You want to see how they can handle themselves in the tender. Make sure they can drive the tender. And take them out a few times. And also, it's like, oh, it's looking a bit choppy out there today. Right, come on, everyone. Come on, deck crew. We're going on a tender day. Yeah. And the chief mate or the bosun will be like, right, come on, you lot. We're going to go and play with the jet tender.
We do the same with drivers here. Yeah. I've had a driving licence 10 years. I'm still not putting them in a 3.5 ton truck day 1 and saying, right, you're off to Naples.
Yeah, you're on your own. Bye-bye.
No, that's not how it works. You do let people gradually fit in, and you give them another driver with them. Yeah. And you don't do that silly thing where you show them where to go. No. You let them drive. Yeah. Same in the tender, so they get used to the water, the boat, everything about it. Yeah. Yeah. I
mean, quite often you hear about deckies having minor scrapes and things with the tenders, because it's like you drive a car. Yeah. You could have 3 brand new cars. One's a Mini, one's a Range Rover, one's a
Ferrari.
Yeah. They're all going to handle
if you've
differently.
Got those 3, you probably got your own boat.
Oh my God, yeah, you don't need a job.
Don't need to drive.
Yeah, don't worry about yachting. You don't need to drive.
You've got a chef. What are you doing asking for this job?
Ridiculous.
Mr. Branson.
Get out. Yeah. But, every car handles differently. And it's even just going from one to the other. You're like, oh, sorry, hang on, I can't. That clutch is just annoying me. You're like, I'm just, the clutch bite is different.
Not the clutch, buddy.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. Like, and you're in a boat, and it's like, I've done it before. I was driving a tender, And I went to just throttle back a bit, and I throttled back a little bit too much, and everyone kind of went, "What?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Thanks, Erica. Nearly lost my phone then." I'm like, sorry, I've not driven this one before,
Yeah, it takes a bit of time, doesn't it?
You just got to familiarise yourself, so you don't put someone in a position where they're bound to screw it up. You don't put them in there, with the boss's elderly owner, the old grandma. They just like, oh, hang, and then you take off, and the tender, it's like, lovely day for her, isn't it? Yeah, lovely.
So
she's gone.
This is so true, isn't it? You're absolutely right. I see she's gone.
Where's Grandma? Fuck.
I think you're right. You have to be careful with what you let people do day one.
Don't set people up to fail.
No, exactly. Give them a chance.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to fuck it up on their own.
Absolutely.
That's why I say.
We're all very capable of doing
Give
that.
them all the points and tips you can, and then say to them, right, have a crack.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
Off you pop.
Yeah, it's going to be part of the fun, isn't it? I think we've had quite a nice chat today.
I thought you'd say, I think I've had enough of you now. Yeah, that's fair.
But is there anything else that you want to mention that you think is really relevant in these conversations before we pack up and you go back on your holiday?
I'm sure I will think of probably a dozen things as soon as I take these headphones off. But no, it's been really good fun. And there's loads of advice out there. Some of it's terrible. So I would say to people, take everything you hear with a little pinch of salt. Don't believe everything you see on social media.
It's like the news, isn't it?
Yeah, just filter it.
It's not necessarily true.
No, just sort of filter it and think, yeah, I like that. I don't like that. Just pick and choose. And you'll find in this industry there are people that you want to work with. I've got clients I've worked with for years because I've met them when they were nippers, when they were super green. And now they're captains and chiefs in their own right and whatnot. And then there's other people that's like, oh, we didn't really meld very well. So it's like, well, that's okay though, because there's different agencies out there. So find agencies who work for you. If you like them, great, stick with them. If you're not that keen, don't. Yeah. You don't have to you don't have to work with every agent. I think that's one thing we said about the green crew, like, should they sign up with all the crew agencies? And the cold hard facts are that we don't get contacted for brand new crew. They're not going to ask me and pay me a fee for a newbie when, like, as we've said throughout this podcast, like, it's about personality. They could pick up a dock walker and say, like, oh, you fit in. You come on, take your pick of three. There's, 3 deckhands. There's a couple of girls and a boy. Like, let's see who fits in best with us, and we'll hire that person. And the other two get a couple of days day work on their CV, and a little tick in the box, and a reference from us, and send them on their merry way.
So would you say that a lot of green crew getting a job is down to, I'd say it's persistence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody said to me the other day in on TV, they went, oh, it's just luck, isn't it? I disagree. It's not luck. You make your own luck.
Yeah.
And if you're dock walking every day, Monday to Saturday, and I stay Saturdays too, and people go, oh no one cares on a Saturday. It doesn't matter. Just be around. That's when I know more people have picked a job on a Saturday because something's happened on the Friday. And there's no crew out there because they got pissed on a Friday and they didn't bother dock walking on Saturday, and those crew are the ones that get employed. Yeah. I personally think you go out, you keep doing it again and again and again. Don't bother the same boat continuously.
Say hi, wave.
Just walk past, wave your hand. Hey, how you doing? I'm still looking. Yeah. Make a joke of it. Yeah. Show a personality.
Me again. You know.
I won't bother you this time, but I might bring croissants tomorrow.
Yeah.
And walk away. And it's all about having a personality and being remembered. Yeah. Because that's what people work with people.
Yep.
And you've just got to get out there and show that personality. Yep. And it doesn't have to be, if people don't want in the pub these days networking, it's dock walking.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing to do, by the way, for a lot of people. You've got to decide what
really
to wear,
hard.
do your hair, do your makeup, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Present yourself in the best way. Mm-hmm. But that's just gearing you up to a season anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be tired. You're going to have to get your hair sorted. You're going to have to look respectful.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be out there with the clients. So if you can't do it dock walking, you ain't going to handle a season.
No,
it's
that's
the
very
first
true.
Tip to getting a job on a yacht is if you can't dock walk every day, you can't work on a yacht anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a rites of passage, and I think a lot of people, if anybody's rude to dock walkers, they should give their head a wobble and have a word with themselves, because it's like we all started somewhere, and dock walking is something that is good to do. You get out there, and I used to hang around on the docks. Sometimes I'd go down and just have a look, and I'd see like a bunch of new crew. Don't say that.
What do you throw stuff at them?
Abuse.
Just throw cold water in their face and go,
get a
grip.
Yeah. What are you doing? Get a hold of yourself, woman. And, and just say hello to them. And they'd be all hanging around the gates of Club de Mar in Palma. And I'd be like, hi, guys, how are you doing? They'd be like, oh, what are you doing down there? I said, I'd just sort of come and annoy you all. Like, how's it all going? And they're like, oh, thanks for checking in.
They need a bit of
And
encouragement
then when people
sometimes,
do that, and people from the yachts will be like, oh, yeah, and that you get some of the lads who like wear a different T-shirt each day with a silly slogan on it. And they're like, and you get people in the crew going, oh, look, there's, there's Will, show us your shirt. Brilliant. Yeah. And eventually they'll be like, well, do you want to come? We got half a day's work. Come on, come and do a wash down with us. Oh, thanks so much. And they'll give you a free crew T-shirt or something. Yeah. I know crew who've actually had T-shirts printed with their names on them, or a picture of their face on one side, and on the back, like, day worker, looking for deckhand work, and their phone number. And it's like, thinking outside the box a little and just being memorable.
Yeah.
But if you're just trudging past with your head down looking sad, you're not going to be remembered as much as the one who's just, as you said, hiya,
it's a personality
morning.
game at the end of the day. As a green crew, it's a personality game, isn't it? And I'm not saying
it's hard.
Quiet people can't get a job.
Oh, no,
I'm just saying sometimes you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone, because that's what yachting is, to be fair.
It is, yeah.
Get outside of your comfort zone, try something new, try something different, break the rules of how it's supposed to be done, and give it a crack.
Yeah.
The worst that happens is somebody sniggers at you and you have to deal with that. But if you're 20, people are going to snigger at you a lot anyway. Well, it's going to happen at times.
What about when you're 49, Damian?
Yeah, no, I do it now every day. I walk in here and go, I've got a new idea. They go,
do we need to talk about Harrods again? Or are you back in the ski department? Are you all right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Are you being triggered today, Damian? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So, this is the thing about life is those difficult moments are what make you who you will be in the future.
Yeah.
And you'll look back in 3, 5, 10 years, if you're in the yachting industry, you'll hopefully have bought a place of your own somewhere that someone's renting and paying your mortgage off. You've travelled the world. You've made some good money. You've made some great friends.
Yep.
You've become a different person. You're now a more outgoing, strong individual, because I think all the people in yachting become that naturally, because it's a service industry.
Yep.
You can turn your hand to anything everywhere you go because you've got the confidence to do it.
Yeah.
And in reality, these are all amazing things. And all you need to do as a green crew at this point is just break out of your comfort zone a little bit to show people who you really are inside. Your friends know you from school and from back home. They know who you are and they love you because of it. Show everybody here.
Yep.
Just be you a little bit. Just make the funny comment. Don't be worried if he doesn't like it and she doesn't like it. Fuck him. Who cares? Just be yourself a little bit. Don't be arrogant, rude, of course.
Yeah.
But just show your personality, because that's what people want. They want to know John, Jeff, Sally, Sue are all fun people. Because most of the time in this industry, you're stuck together very close, group of people, and you're going to stay with them for 6 months. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So you need to know that these are the kind of people you can gel with.
Yeah, that
Find
you want to be around.
You want to be around. Show who you are, and people will appreciate you, and you'll naturally fit into the right place.
Yep.
But don't pretend to be somebody you're not, because you'll end up being on a boat you hate with people you don't like.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse that can destroy a career than being unhappy every day. And that's the advice I'd give, not mainly just to your crew, but to anybody.
Yeah.
Be you. Don't try and pretend to be somebody else to fit in, because it won't last forever.
No, completely agree. And it's like the yachting industry, it's hard, but it's so rewarding, and it will give you friends for a lifetime, and it will give you super fond memories that you'll look back at and think, oh, that was a wild time. That was crazy. And, when we talk about the stories and things that we hear, sometimes when something's literally just happened, it's like, I'm not ready to laugh about that yet. But, give it a few months and,
After
and that
my
becomes...
third child, I'll laugh about that.
Yeah, it's like... And, that's when you start to relive things and you start to look back and you have a laugh and you think, oh, that was great. And it's important, even if you have a bad experience, try and take the positive from it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a case of like, well, I know I'd never work for a captain like that again, or I'd never run the interior in that way. Or, next time you look for the red flags and the trigger warnings and things.
Yeah.
And it's everything's a learning experience. It might not be good, it might be tough.
But it's about turning a negative into a positive.
And
because that's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is full of negatives.
Yeah.
And what you have to do is take it and find a positive and switch it over and flip it.
Yep.
And if you can do that,
yeah,
then yachting's the right place to be.
Absolutely.
Because it is
you're gonna win
negative
at life.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's exhausting mentally and physically. Sometimes you're going to meet some crap people, like you would in any walk of life. But again, if you can find the positive from it, find something to learn from it and something to take away from it, then it hasn't been a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it could have set you off on a different path that's going to be even better or more interesting. Just everything happens. I say everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it's because you're stupid and you should have listened to my advice. But, everything does tend to happen.
Oh, true.
Yeah. But just take the best from it. And then, I said this to people, I've got quite a lot this week actually, but people have had some terrible experiences and they're like, look, you're better than this.
Yeah.
And you're better than them. So we're going to take that experience, we're going to drop it in the fuck it bucket and we're going to get on with our lives. And they're like, oh, that feels better. Yeah. I was like, see? And, some people, you can have the most experienced, wonderful people in life, or crew members or in any walk of life, and they have a terrible experience and someone has made them feel like crap.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. And it takes someone else just to give them a little kick up the bum and they say, hey, no, that's not you, is it? Come on, look at all this stuff you've done. Don't let that person, pick on you and bring you down.
Yeah.
Just because they're, there's something wrong with them.
It's because they've had a negative day themselves, maybe.
Well,
that can happen.
Well, some people are just assholes.
Some people are.
Yeah.
I would also say that whichever position you have on board, use the people within the industry for assistance when you need it, and that's people like you.
Yeah.
I've even had
people
crew.
Like you.
Well, I've had even crew phone me.
Yeah.
In a tiz, chief stewardesses have gone and they've phoned me up. I've thought they want to do an order.
Yeah.
Generally, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And they've spent 45 minutes literally bitching.
Yeah.
But that's freed them from doing it on board in the middle of fucking June. Because you don't need to be doing that with the other crew members in the middle of June, especially if you're a head of department.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to give you a bad reputation. Yeah. And sometimes they do need to get it out. We all do. We need a bitch sometimes. I don't judge any crew that phone me and complain about someone else in the boat. I never mention it again. I never talk to anybody about it. I don't even mention it to them again. Maybe at the end of the season I'll see them and have a beer and go, you had a fun June, but that's it.
Yeah.
And they'll go, God, man, I was in a really terrible state. I really appreciate you just spending 45 minutes on the phone. But I could be doing other stuff whilst I'm got my headphones on. But use the people you know in the industry to help you when you're in a shithole. When you're in a difficult position and you can't see the light, phone you or text you maybe and say, hey, I need 5.
Yeah.
And you'll go, shit, are you okay? Maybe you place them, and it's really relevant.
Absolutely.
You'll go, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm the same with my clients. I'm always available for people to phone me and have a chat. I mean, sometimes they'll phone me for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll be thinking, have I got an hour? Well, I do have an hour. I've got hands, so I can do other stuff. But anyway, if anybody wants to contact you, if anyone's looking for work, or yachts in particular are looking for crew, how do they get hold of you if they don't know how to Google? If they've lost all ability to Google
the
L
internet
Crew
machine
or Erica Lay.
I mean, honestly, look up Erica Lay. And on there, it's the L Crew Co. company, the Erica Lay Crew Company. I don't even know what I'm called.
L Crew.
Who am I? Where am I? It's been a long podcast. I mean, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, L Crew Co. You can find me on TikTok, L Crew Co. But yeah, just look for Erica and in a yachting forum, and I'm probably there. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would say.
Yeah, on my website.
You're going to save people a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And a lot of possibilities of employing the wrong person.
Absolutely.
And having to re-employ in the middle of a hard season.
Well, that's another thing. It's like doing background checks. I will check someone out quite thoroughly, and quite often on CVs, I know people that people don't realise I know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Damian. Runs that. But hiya.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about so-and-so? Has he put me on his CV? No, he hasn't. But you know me, they're like, here comes Detective Lay.
Yeah.
I will dig holes and I will find out. And sometimes it's two sides to every story.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And, I say to crew, just be honest about what's happened. And it might be a case of, I left the boat after a month because I had somebody, it's like my mum passed away. And I went back too soon. And I told the captain, I'm not ready for this yet. And he understood that. And so, I didn't ask for a reference.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine.
There's a reason for it.
Yeah,
I think sometimes people can get caught up in what
Yeah.
happened and believe that it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
But everyone's got their reasons, and every one of them is acceptable for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can continue working there is really a choice of the captain and you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a solid reason for it.
Yeah.
If you're honest, people like that. People go, cool,
I would
that's understandable.
much rather someone's honest to me. If they tell porky pies, I'll probably find out, and then it's like, well, now I've got trust issues with you.
Yeah.
You know, if you couldn't be honest with me and you want me to represent you and put my neck on the line with my clients.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
you once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with those sort of things. I think you're right. Be honest. Yeah.
And I'll help them spin it in such a way, not lie about it, but you know, to say, well, okay, there's nothing to be ashamed of here that you didn't work this time because, you know, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You just say this, and then if asked, if you feel comfortable to talk about it, then you tell them a little more. But you can say, no, I took the summer off for personal reasons.
Yeah, I think you're right. Look,
You
a lot of people. There's two types of people: people who are very sharing, and people that don't share anything.
Yeah.
And in both camps, you could always go a bit weird, but it has to be a middle ground.
Yeah.
Do you know? And I think anyone, because there was some problems. I had a relationship issue.
Yeah.
I wasn't available at that time.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
Hands in the air. It's dealt with now. It's a year later. I've sorted that out, and I'm now ready to commit.
Yeah.
And I didn't not commit. I just didn't appreciate what pain I was in.
Yeah.
People can appreciate. We're all human. We go, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. At least you're honest about it.
I'd rather and it's like, well, good for you for recognizing that and taking the time out to fix your problem or to help yourself through a tough time or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you that's the strength of character, to recognize it and also not to inflict yourself upon others if you are a miserable sod.
And that's the problem.
You know?
If you've got big problems, you possibly, one of the worst places to be is in a confined environment with a group of people who are all really motivated when you're not. Yeah. That's going to destroy your soul more than anything else.
Yeah,
so
if you
it's
don't
good
want to
advice
be there,
from you, don't be there.
Yeah, if you don't want to be there, then don't. Then it's time to take some time out, you know, and reflect. And then, I mean, there's loads of people who've taken time out over the pandemic and whatnot, or even just in general, pre-pandemic. I took a year out of yachting. I needed a rest because I did like 2 back-to-back charter seasons and I burnt myself out and I was exhausted. I missed my best friend's wedding. I missed someone's funeral. You know, I missed a christening or the birth of my child. And then it's like people
you missed the birth of your child. That's incredible. How did that happen?
Yeah, it fell out of me when I was working. What was that?
I was in Tahiti at the time.
Yeah, that's great. Good Lord. For example. But, you know, and then, take some time out and then recharge and think, and then you come back refocused on where you want to go. You know,
I think that's really, really good advice. I think it's been really interesting to hear your point of view in these things because, I mean, obviously crew don't hear it necessarily. They see a few videos and bits and pieces, but this is quite a long chat about, I think the green crew, this has been great today. They'll really be able to see some stuff that they might not have realised, which is cool. Captains hopefully have realised that the advantages of taking on green crew when there isn't as many experienced crew around. And I think you pointing out today, for me, the pivotal thing in my mind was the fact that I did not, for some reason, maybe because I'm retarded, I don't know, I didn't realise that COVID issue had possibly been the reason for the lack of experienced crew. That's really opened my mind to that now because it caused issues across industries. Insemination of cows didn't happen because nobody needed any beef anymore in high-end restaurants, which is why beef coming in was so slow. Yeah. And it was all because of COVID. COVID caused a lot of issues which we are only just dealing with in 2023 that we didn't realise were an issue.
They're hangover issues, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hangover issues. And it's really interesting you pointed that out because, of course, it's obvious now you've said it.
Yeah, I mean, also, one last thing on there's a lot more to the crew shortage. I wrote a huge article for Onboard magazine about it. So if people want to look it up, they can Google it. Or it's probably on my socials anyway. And, you know, it's that the salaries as well haven't gone up in line with inflation, but that's a whole huge topic anyway. But yeah, there were lots of factors that happened around COVID and the way the world is now that have caused crew to exit the industry or not come into it. Which need to be dealt with. Nobody has the answers. I mean, more time off, more rotation, better salary, better working conditions.
Rotation
for crew.
helps, doesn't it?
Rotation definitely helps, yeah. And certainly for senior roles.
I know a lot of happy rotation people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very few unhappy rotations.
Work-life balance.
Rotationalists. Is that the right word?
I'm a rotationalist. I identify as a rotationalist.
I'm a yacht rotationalist.
Yeah.
It's quite a good
Yeah.
Have we just invented
I think
a
we
word?
just have.
I think
yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Rotationalist.
Great. Get that copyrighted.
Let's see if people, if it,
Trademark.
people just start saying it. I'm a rotationalist.
Yeah.
And that's what they put on the TV.
Rotationalist.
Professional chef rotationalist.
Rotationalist.
They'll be go, is it roti?
Yeah.
Roti de poulet.
Yeah.
No, not oven. No, not oven baked.
I'm rotating. Just slowly round and round.
Well, thank you very much for today. I really appreciate it. And now we can free you to go back to your actual holiday, the
Thanks
reason for coming from
me.
France. But thank you for coming up here today. It's taken, an hour and a half to get here. I really appreciate it.
On a train with peasants.
Yeah, with the normal folk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
With their chickens and their...
Yeah, running amok there were, and grubby children on the floor. And
unbelievable.
Shocking.
Terrible business.
Yes.
That's the French train system for you. What can I say?
It's actually really comfortable. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Much better than the UK.
I was disappointed that I didn't get a double-decker train, though.
I saw one coming past, actually, when I went to pick you up. And I thought, hello, there is a double-decker
I really wanted a double-decker train.
Yeah.
I've never been on a double-decker train.
Have you never been on one? Literally from the local one that goes from Nice, Cannes, wherever it is, Fréjus, whatever, is always a double-decker.
Oh, well.
Next time, eh? Maybe on your return journey.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe.
If you do get on a double-decker, you'll probably sending me a picture.
Yeah.
There's a double-decker.
Selfie on the top deck.
Are you going to be doing a little video on your way back going, I've just had the most boring conversation in my life.
Look out for it on TikTok.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And maybe we'll speak to you again when you're free and available in the south of France.
Absolutely. I always have opinions.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Yes.
I like it. It should have. Everyone should have opinions.
Yeah.
Have a good summer.
Thank you very much. You too. And keep busy. Thank you so much.